Tony Ann DeShield to present the National Committee Woman Report. Is Tony Ann here or anyone representing Tony Ann? Okay, we'll move on to the National Committee Man Report. I call upon Dr. Robin Armstrong to present the National Committee Man Report. Is there anyone here for Robin? Seeing none. Moving along. Is there anyone here for Dana? Moving along. We're going to do it. If there's no objection, I'm going to delay the report of the state chair and do it together with the officials committee report just for time. Hearing none, we'll postpone the report of the state chair. Call upon Susan Fountain to present the party organization committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would love for our party organization committee members to please stand. We have a small but mighty group of members. Thank you, Howard, Mary Jane, Robin, Tony. I always want to call her Tony Ann Tennille instead of Trevino. Anyway, thank you all for being here today and participating. We have been working diligently on the party precinct chair handbook and the SREC handbook since June. We deferred to the LP committee because many of our members were so focused on that very important work that was done during our legislative session. After sine die, we dived into rewriting, updating, and correcting a lot of the material in the precinct chair handbook and the SREC handbook. We spent hours. We met 2 and 3 Mondays a month on it every month until we recently finalized it, and we're not perfect. There may be a dotted I or a crossed T that you will stumble upon, possibly, but if you do, we are happy to make any corrections. It's a joint effort by all of us, so we are happy to make any additions or corrections or add anything that y'all feel we might have left out. I believe Hannah told us that it would be in the digital package eventually. We have had some guests who attended our party organization committee meeting yesterday, and they tell us that they can't get copies of the precinct chair handbook. They cannot get copies of our one-page list of duties. Our precinct chairs are the grassroots, and they need to have this information. So if you, even if they're not precinct chairs, they can still use the information to work their own precinct. Many of our precinct chairs work full-time and can't get to their entire precinct, so we need a lot of boots on the ground. So I encourage all of y'all who have, some of us are county chairs all across the state. These county chairs are tasked with getting these precinct chair handbooks distributed to all the grassroots. They're the backbone of this party, and they need to have this information. So if you would allow, if anybody's watching on live stream, contact your SREC member and tell them you want to get involved and you don't know where to go. We have trainings every Saturday up in Dallas County. We are tasked with turning this very blue county. As all of y'all know, we had a come to Jesus moment from our Dallas City Mayor, Eric Johnson, who has now come from the dark side and stepped through that line. So we're very, very, very encouraged by, he's always been a very pro police mayor, but he's one voice on a very, very liberal city council. So we need to just start one step at a time and taking back our city. And I think we've got a lot of our Dallas city residents who are moving to Coppell and other very Republican areas, much more conservative areas. So anyway, that's what we've been working on, and we've spent many hours getting these precinct chair handbooks. So please, and also the SREC handbook, we updated it. I'm not sure that it has been updated since 2008. So it was a big ongoing work for a lot, that took a long time. So if you feel like we need to add something, just let us know. We also wanted to encourage everyone to support Howard Barker's efforts to get the high school kids organized, and they're putting together chapters. TPUSA, Dallas County is going to assist in this effort by offering them our county offices to have their meetings until they can get organized, but we have no established chapter in Dallas County. So I highly encourage you to contact your county chairs in your own areas and get this going, because the kids are our future, and we're going to have to need their help to clean up our little messes that we leave behind. So our GOP Data Center, we have been downloading our voter rolls. And Robin Cooper has helped us with El Paso County. Thank you, Robin. We have been analyzing all of the downloads of the voter registration rolls in Dallas County, and we have run we have a wonderful IT guy who has spent 40 years in Silicon Valley, and he escaped from California a few years ago and just wanted to use his skill sets to take back Dallas County. So we put him to work. I asked him if he wanted to be a precinct chair first, of course, and he said, nah, that's not his bailiwick. So he's much more valuable to us with his job that he retired from because he was tired of it, but he's going to put his skill set into use where it's most effective. But we have actually found that by downloading our voter rolls for elections going back as far as 2000, that we found between 25 and 40,000 voters who have been registered to vote since 1974. Guess when they decided to vote? November of 2020. It's not by small measure that these elections departments know exactly who the inactive voters are in their own little domains, and they're able to arrange, if they're run by the left side, the dark side, they know where these people will never be noticed if they all of a sudden turn up and vote in one election, and they'll just fade back into the woodwork. So we are now tasked with reaching out to all of these voters who only voted in November 2020, and we're gonna bang on their doors. We've tasked all of our precinct chairs with asking for their data, and they are on fire to do this. So we can't do this by ourselves. We've got to start somewhere all over the whole state of Texas. So if we can determine that they've moved out of Dallas and just left without taking their name off, if they never voted, that's pretty suspect. So we're going to take this list after we've scrubbed it. We're going to take it to our elections administrator and ask that they be removed from these rolls, because somebody else is going to vote for them if we don't take them off. So that being said, our geek has offered to help any county that wants to download their voter rolls and send them to him. He will take them and cross-reference them to GOP Data Center. That is our one access point where we start out with. We can cross-check all of the voter registration numbers. The VUID numbers are always comparative to what we download from the state elections department. So if any of y'all would like to download your own county, it costs us $20 to download Dallas County's 1.4 million voters. So it's not really a great reach to whip out your credit card and do this on your own. It's called public information request, and they have to honor it. It's easier for y'all to navigate your elections administration offices and send the files to us. And we can do that, run that algorithm and send the file back to you and have you able to work it in your own areas. So he does it for free. He does it because he believes in the cause of election integrity. And so he's willing to help anybody he doesn't charge anything. That being said, our greatest, in my humble opinion, and in our party organization committee, we've talked very much about the election integrity is so important, and there are so many people who have been disenfranchised because they think their vote doesn't count. We started with actually providing election judges and clerks from our Republican Party in every voting center in Dallas County. It was a huge task. We had to start recruiting and training and empowering all of our election workers to know that they could step up and do this. We had a lot of clerks who really did not want the responsibility of being the alternate judge, but it's not that big of a stretch. We lost 40 presiding judge locations in Dallas County, and elections have consequences. Wherever Governor Abbott lost in each precinct, that flipped to a Democrat presiding judge, where we had a Republican before. If we don't have a Republican in every voting center, they just call in their troops and say, hey, there's nobody here to watch. Bring us whatever you want. And they don't vet anybody. They just let everybody come in and vote. So they also have the list of these inactive voters. So this is, I believe, a vast majority of problems that we've had all over the country with not scrubbing these rolls. So any help that you can offer in this endeavor all across our state, because they're coming after the rural areas as well as the very large population, large counties. So we are trying to contact all of the biggest county parties to help in this endeavor: El Paso, Bear, Travis, Harris. Like Rachel said, it's a hot mess in Harris, so I don't know how far gone it is, but we're happy to help with the technology that we have accessible to all of these. If you're an Excel spreadsheet guru, then you can help too. So a lot of our precinct chairs are not tech savvy with Excel. So we're training, having Excel 101 classes in Dallas County as well. So anyway, that pretty much is what we accomplished in the party organization committee the last 3 months. So we appreciate everything that y'all do to grow the grassroots, and this completes my report. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Just talk loud. if there was a way through the design to pull those, that's their date of birth, and probably if it's good, you can look up their last name. So, we're smaller, so things are easier for us, but the filters. If anyone has the death records from Social Security, send them to us. We are happy to run the numbers on. Well, if you died legitimately and legally, and it's been a process, if you got dumped in the backyard, I mean, I'm kidding. Well, we've actually had a voter in Dallas County who brought two mail-in ballots up to our office from the homeowner that he bought the home from, they had asked for mail-in ballots, so they brought the mail-in ballot. He says, these people passed away 3 years ago, and I'm still getting mail-in ballots. So I looked them up, got their VUID numbers, and they've been voting for the last 3 years, and they've been dead for 3 years. So I took the mail-in ballots to our elections administrator in Dallas County, and I had recorded the VUID numbers so I could recheck them in a couple of weeks, and they had been removed from the rolls. So you have to follow up and be diligent about holding them accountable. So it's a hard task, I guarantee you, but just stand your ground and go after, keep after it. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. If there's no objection, we'll do the report of the State Chair and Officials Committee now together, then do Jerry, and I think that'll take us to lunch. Hearing none. I want to do the report of the chair. Can you pull up my slide, please? Excellent. Thank you. Just the little things we've done this quarter. We kicked off the Victory Project with Alexandra Mueller being our Victory Chair. This was Senator Cruz's pick as well. We were working very closely with the Cruz campaign. We entered a joint fundraising agreement with the Cruz campaign where we are given priority for funds over the NRSC. So it is going to be, when people donate, it's going to be Cruz up to the limit, then Cruz's PAC up to, I think it's $5,000, then it's us, $10,000, and then NRSC. So we expect to be doing a lot of work through the Party on Victory. Micah is going to have a lot to work with this year and is working very closely with the Cruz campaign. Also, RPT County Chair primary training is at the end of the month. Jen has done a great job organizing that, and we're going to have the county chairs in, what day is it, the 29th? It's the 30th. Okay, September 30th. Then we have new hires. Micah Kavanaugh, our new political director. Sad to see Chad go. Micah was the former chief of staff for Congressman Ron Wright and chief of staff for many conservatives in the Capitol. Also, Abby Moore, organization department assistant, started on October 1st. And of course, when Jen put together the slide, she didn't put together like her moving into John's position. But we're thrilled to have Jen as the executive director. Very, very sad to see John go. I tried to convince him that, to do an 8-hour commute and take half the money, but he wasn't too keen on that. So he's in Odessa now as city manager, and Jen is executive director. I think we're in good hands. Leaving RPT, Hannah Weeks is going to the Cruz campaign shortly. And also, do we have to do the county chairs here? You don't have. Yeah. We appointed county chairs, Culbertson County, Avi Nash. I do need to get approval for that. So we don't need a motion, right? Yeah. Is there any objection to the appointment of Avi Nash as chairman of Culbertson County? Hearing none, it's so moved. Avi Nash is chairman of Culbertson County. Also, the staff is working on relationship building in Austin. We're doing an open house at the office with Myra Flores, and we expect to do many more as well. Eric Johnson, yesterday, the mayor of Dallas, announced he is becoming a Republican. This means there is one city in the top 10 largest cities in the country that is run by a Republican mayor now, and that is Dallas. So let's keep in mind, this is, I believe it is the fourth major party switch since I took over in 2021. There's been a rash of them. And I'm not taking credit for them. I'm just saying that we keep winning here in Texas, even at a time when people throughout the company are seeing some disappointments. We turned Texas red for the first time since 2014 in this past election, and we keep seeing people change parties. Now we're gearing up for victory in 2024 with the Cruz campaign. So I think we're on the right track here. I think the only negative I hear is, the only negative I hear is I keep getting asked by the press, is the GOP divided? And they ask this because of the Paxton impeachment and grumblings on Twitter or X. But I don't think it is. In fact, I think the GOP is more united than it has been in decades. At the beginning of my tenure, I said RPT's message to our GOP elected officials will be, if you go on offense to deliver real substantive victories against the left, we are here to support you. Virtually every GOP official at every level of government has delivered real substantive victories against the left. We've seen Governor Abbott deliver real substantive victories on the border, on other issues, on legislative enactments that he signed this past session. We've seen Dan Patrick do the same. The Texas Senate was a shining example. Whenever officials say, well, you guys are never happy, I always say, well, do you see the Texas Senate? Do that. That's what I'm happy with. Our congressional delegation, like Michael Cloud, who's a rock star in Congress, like Jody Arrington, we've been working closely with them. And House leaders like Harrison, Tinderholt, Schaefer, so many others. All the presidential candidates that are currently in double digits have delivered real substantive victories against the left. And the only exception is a small group, very small group, surrounding the speaker in the Texas House. There's a small group that prioritized tampon taxes, gambling, Medicaid expansion, hairstyle discrimination, and corporate welfare over border security, property taxes, school choice, and ending COVID mandates. It's the same group that impeached our Attorney General. I mean, are we united because they did that? Or are we not united because they did that? No. I mean, if you are at a political rally, if you're at a Trump rally, right? And there's one guy in the back screaming, I hate Trump. And there's 20,000 people that are all screaming the same thing and cheering. Is that a united Trump rally? Is there disunity in that rally because a couple people might not be united? No, it's a very united rally, and our party is united as well. I've never seen, in terms of measuring unity by a percentage of the party that's on the same page, I've never seen it this united. So I'm proud of what we're doing. And now Paxton's been acquitted. Governor Abbott, Dan Patrick, the Senate, Sid Miller, RPT, multiple congressmen, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson are all saying the trial was fair. Let's move on and unite. The only person who isn't is coming from the House. It's the Speaker, the chair of the General Investigating Committee. who afterwards held a press conference with the Democrats. And then they asked, was the trial fair? And he gave the Democrat the floor. It says a lot. And they say all those other people that I just mentioned who are united are wrong. Well, if you're ever in a situation where you think everyone else is the problem but you, I have some news on who the real problem is. It's you. So we're not in a civil war like some have said. We're more unified than ever before. We invite the House to join us, stop giving power to Democrats, and unite going forward. The rest of us already have. So thank you. I do want to talk a little bit before Jerry gives her report. I do want to talk a little bit about partners and auxiliaries. Speaking of isolated groups creating division, let's move on to partnerships, shall we? Thank you, I appreciate that. Before I recognize Jerry, I want to say that I do believe that we get caught up in bureaucracy sometimes as a body, and we need to focus on the big picture, and that's, we do need to expand our reach to the younger generation. And I know so many of you guys have been invested in the effort. Jerry's going to be presenting a motion to partner with some of the largest and most successful young Republicans groups in the state. They've been partners in the past by virtue of their affiliation with TYRF, but were involuntarily removed from our association when their statewide organization decided to disassociate with RPT. I spoke at 2 of their groups this summer. They had about 150 people at each one. It's 300 people in 2 monthly meetings. And there were very few faces I recognized. They were bringing new people in. It wasn't like you usually go in, you see the same friends over and over. These are people who've never been to anything before. I mean, the excitement was palpable. They were politically conservative, they were energetic, and they were excited to partner with RPT and work with us towards winning the election, promoting our legislative priorities. This isn't a small group of like disaffected YRs that are trying to make a statement. These are large groups that have been active for years, have been associated with the Republican Party, and want to continue working with us. I mean, they have 6 chapters right now that want to continue their partnership, and they have 10 to 12 more that will come on once we welcome them. And that should be all that matters, growing our organization. And I understand some people want to complicate that for their own purposes, but let me review, okay? This is what is happening. At a meeting like this one, or I want to review it as exactly what happened. At a meeting like this one, why our state leadership voted to leave our partnership in a public, reckless, and frankly disrespectful spectacle where they defamed me personally and defamed our organization. We weren't the only target. Please, order. That is exactly true. And we weren't the only target of their ire in recent weeks. In fact, Ken Paxton was another target of their ire, of their leadership group. A group of chapters that didn't agree with this, put their neck on the line saying, we aren't going to go along. We appreciate and value RPT, and we want to continue our partnership. So are we going to say, no, we don't want you either? Are we going to reject them? Are we going to say, hey, Matt, is Matt here? Matt, are we going to say, Matt, we screwed up? I'm sorry, are we going to say, Matt, you screwed up by backing us over somebody who didn't want any part of us? We should be grateful leaders like Matt Dorsey. Weren't you YR of the year for Dallas one year? Yeah. Thank you. And Chad Cohen formalized the Association of YR Groups that want to continue with RPT. Now, the same YR leadership that just left us, and frankly gave us a big middle finger in the process, are lobbying you and going out of their way to keep you from partnering with other young activists that want to join us. That's like your girlfriend that breaks up with you and then doesn't want you to date anyone else. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's the issue, whether consciously or unconsciously. Whether consciously or unconsciously, I know that some of you had some questions. And I think that comes from the fact that some of you guys are uneasy that there's this powder keg of drama that surrounds a particular group. And I think people are worried it's going to be directed at them. And they're looking for a reason to postpone or avoid the vote, or don't look for a reason to avoid doing the right thing, please. Please don't postpone this. There's no reason to do it. You aren't going to get any new information over the next 3 months, and it'll just extend the drama. I don't want to be talking about this in December when we should be talking about elections.
Sir, you're debating.
You're not
You're
not recognized. Please sit down. Point of order is overruled. Very well. What do we have? Okay. Yep. Is there, what do we do? Do ban it? Okay. Let's appeal the ruling of the chair, now up for debate. Anyone want to speak? Okay, hearing none, please take a vote. All in favor?
Sorry, I was on the way. Check.
Chris, let's just take a vote.
Fire away, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All in favor? A yes vote is to overrule the chair and to make me stop talking. A no vote, what is it? Oh, yes votes too. Okay. The decision of the chair was it was not out of order as it is my report. And I do get leeway to talk about any issues affecting RPT that I can. So a yes is to sustain my ruling, and a no is to say I have to stop talking about this issue. All in favor of sustaining the ruling of the chair, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it. So I don't think we should dissolve partnerships and, well, first of all, I don't think we should postpone it. I don't want to be talking about this in December. This should get decided today. Secondly, I don't want to dissolve partnerships entirely. I think that would be a slap in the face to our other partner groups. I mean, one issue shouldn't cause you to abandon everyone. In fact, I'd like to set a goal, and I would like to do this, to double our partnerships in the next 2 years. I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Let's not try to exclude people. Let's try to build excitement by expanding our reach. I mean, really. And if somebody disagrees with you on a few different issues, I understand you don't want organizations that are delineated specifically on identity based on issues that we disagree with. But if a group disagrees with us on a couple issues, that's fine too. Let's expand our reach and let's broaden our party. This also isn't about that other group that's upset. They left voluntarily. We shouldn't aid and abet what they did by denying partnership to the people who want to stay. This isn't a new group. These are existing YR groups. They were our partners last month by virtue of their association, and they want to continue to be our partners. There's no reason to reject them. We should welcome them. I mean, gosh, how much work has Howard done trying to bring young people into our party? Seriously. Howard's done a great job, by the way. Give him a hand. And I'm happy. We have young people who walked right in our door today and we didn't have to go seek them out, like Matt. So let me be clear. Vote you're about to take is whether we're ready to partner with a staunchly conservative group, young Republicans, working towards a common goal as we head towards the most important election of our lifetime. I ask you to vote yes. At the same time, I want to invite back into our fold those other young Republican groups that decided to leave. Reapply. We'll look at the application and we'll talk. We want as broad a coalition as possible. Let's leave the drama behind us, look forward instead of back, and build our coalition in all aspects of our organization. So thank you. Call upon Jerry to do the partners and coalitions reports.
Stool over there. Okay, I think I can see. I can't reach the microphone. That's okay. Okay, before we get to the vote, I would like to thank my committee for approving the partnership for the new YRs. The new YRs are YRs of Texas, Young Republicans of Texas. Karen Marshall, Rachel Horton, Gail Devine, Elaine Cook, and I had 3 members that couldn't be there, but they agreed with the approval. Thank you. Before we get to that vote, I do have a statement that I need to read from TFRW, Texas Federation of Republican Women. And I'm going to read it straight from Kit Whitehill, who is the president, and this did come from all the elected officials of the TFRW. TFRW made our statement because members were concerned where TFRW stood on the trans issue, since NFRW has not yet taken a stand. To correct any confusion, there is not a transgender on the NFRW board or any state board, and there is not a trans running for the board. Then I read the statement. And I think I left it. Nope. Yeah, after listening to Matt, I left it. It's over there, Bruce. Okay, and everyone has heard what Matt has to say, but I would like to give up some speaking time to Matt Dorsey, because he called me right after that because he was very upset because he wasn't ready to leave the Federation, but he had no choice. Oh, let me read the statement. In recent days, articles have been published and videos posted discussing the National Federation of Republican Women's current lack of a stated policy regarding the inclusion of transgender women as primary members in federated clubs. In response to numerous inquiries by concerned members regarding this issue, the undersigned elected TFRW officers make this statement. Although this statement does not have the force of a bylaw, we hope it will be a starting point for further discussion. The National Federation of Republican Women was founded in 1938, only 17 years after the 19th Amendment was ratified. And the TFRW joined the Federation in 1955, both with the mission to provide Republican women the ability to organize and express their political voices, educate themselves and others along with Republican principles, and recruit and elect Republican women to office. We address and advocate regarding issues of interest to Republican women. For example, we recently supported Republican legislation protecting women's fairness in athletics and women's health. We believe TFRW's current membership structure is not only beneficial to Republican women, but necessary for them to have an effective voice. We believe in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. We do not believe that Republican women's voices should be diluted or weakened in any way. Therefore, we believe that TFRW membership should be limited to women, those females stated on their official birth certificate entered at or near the time of birth, who are registered voters that believe in the Republican Party philosophy, the objectives of the local club, and the mission to promote Republican values. That's from TFRW. Yeah. Now, I would like for Matt Dorsey to come up. Can you come up and speak? No, you want to vote.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, Matt?
Yep. Use that. Is this yours?
No.
All right. I cross out half my notes because the chairman just said, keep it. Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for inviting me up here. And Jerry, my SREC committee woman, thank you so much for also inviting me here. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Matt Dorsey, and I've been a YR since 2018. And after reading countless political articles, such as the Drudge Report back then, when it was good, when it was America First, I got tired of just sitting back and reading and not really doing anything. And that's when I decided to strengthen my involvement. And I went to my first Dallas Young Republican meeting, where I met some individuals and they took me on my first block walk, and I jumped right in. And from there, again, that was 2018, got involved with the state organization and rose through the ranks there to executive director, then political director. I was also YR Man of the Year in 2019. And over the past year and a half, I've been involved with the Rockwall Young Republicans. I helped them rebuild their club. One of my first meetings, there were 3 people, including the speaker, and 1 person from out of town, and myself. And no officers were there. And I told the guest, I said, hey, I've got my phone, we can record you speaking. He was talking about partnerships, not partnerships, city boards and commissions, how to onboard young people. Very important meeting. And I recorded him, and then we uploaded it to YouTube and advertised it. But we went from 3 people to, I think it was around 100 to 150 people. And that meeting was with Matt Rinaldi. That was in June. And we have been growing at a clip ever since. Dallas YR consistently brings out at least 150 people, sometimes 300 people. Enormously successful club. They have a lot to teach other clubs, and Rockwall included. But yeah, so that's my involvement in YRs up to this point. My involvement with the SREC. I met Jill Glover in 2018, just as I was coming into my political director position, and she was enormous help, helping me to train precinct chairs. And we recorded, I think, 1 training that she did, and I've been working with her ever since, teaching me the ins and outs of the SREC, the resources that you all have for political advocacy. She, of course, is the chair of the legislative priorities. But that ultimately, all of that experience culminated during my presidency as Rockwall YR. For the first 6 months, January through June, we advocated for legislative priorities, including the border, including school choice. We had Jill Glover out to talk about the protection of children. We had Chris Russo come out from Texans for Strong Borders. And like I said, we've been constantly advocating for the legislative priorities. So anyway, we appreciate your partnership. We want to continue to be a partner of the Republican Party of Texas, obviously. The blowback that we felt immediately after our parent organization left, it was tangible. Our future guest, he had to cancel on us because of all of the, because they left the Republican Party of Texas. He had received a lot of support. And when he did that, being associated with the state organization, it would have looked badly. So we have been harmed tangibly, and we want our partnership back for all the reasons that I mentioned. So with that, yeah. Okay.
Just be available for questions.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we accept the,
You suggest that we allow the other side to give a speech as well, since this is a matter that we are voting on, so that we hear from both?
We're going to debate. So did you move? Okay. So the motion's been made to accept Young Republicans of Texas as a partner. No seconds needed because it was passed in committee.
Mr. Chairman.
But appreciated. Yes.
Chairman,
Is this on?
I understand that I have the right to
It's not.
ask for a postponement of this vote
So you
until,
What is a motion?
until the December meeting. I feel like,
That's non-debatable, right?
and I would like to.
Hold on one
speak to
second.
my motion.
Is it? Okay, hold on one second. So I'm going to get the motion and get a second, and then you can talk.
Okay.
Okay. There's been a motion to postpone till a time certain December. Is there a second? Second by Jan. Go ahead. It's open for debate. We're still doing 2-2, 4 against. So
Chairman,
you
point
can
of
speak on
information,
Yes.
where are we at in our parliamentary order here?
Parliamentary order is there
Motion to
is a main motion that is on the floor,
What motion?
which is the motion to accept the partnership.
Okay,
Now there is a motion to postpone till December. And we're taking argument now on it. So go ahead, Gail.
So my motion has been accepted, and I have talked to many of you about what I'm trying to do here. This has nothing to do with the arguments that the chair made earlier. Has nothing to do with this situation that has arisen just in recent days. This is something regarding a needed change in the way that partnerships and coalitions is defined, and that's what we want to do, is just give us time to reformat what needs to be done with a partnerships and coalitions type of committee. And I hope that even though the motion that I made, that I'm going to make, that I noticed this morning, is that this would be an opportunity to start over with this, because we have had a lot of problems in 8 years that I have been here. It's been constant. So that's what I'm trying to do, and it has nothing to do with the current argument. I'm sorry if I didn't do this properly, but I think it's the right time. And if we don't do it now, it will never be done, and we will never clear up this situation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, are we taking 2-4-2 against or 3-4-3 against?
3-3.
3 and 3?
So if there's any against,
Four?
do you want to speak?
I'm against.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. This is the motion to postpone. Right. So on the motion to postpone, I'll stand against that, because right now what we've done is we're moving the goalposts essentially. So we've had an organization, several actually, come to that committee. So we had the teenage Republicans, and we've got the Latinos for America First that came yesterday, and they've been preparing for that meeting. And so to have this postponement at this point in time, I believe would be detrimental and would actually impact encouraging we would be creating the uncertainty. So it would be essentially moving the goalposts, and not something that we want to encourage after everyone has already prepared for this quarterly meeting. And here we are, and we have this opportunity to vote for these organizations, to move them forward with everything. And then moving the goalposts at the last possible second is the wrong thing to do.
I'd like to speak in favor of the motion.
Go ahead.
It's Rolando Garcia, SD 15. It is with great reluctance that I favor the motion to postpone, because I am a big fan of the nationalist populist orientation of this new group. Matt Dorsey is one of the people I respect the most in grassroots politics, and I know any organization he's involved in will be successful. However, for the sake of consistency, we need to treat them like we treat all the other groups and not fast track them. The only reason we are fast tracking this organization is because this is the chairman's pet project, and he is determined to insert himself into internal YR politics. And in fact, it is the chairman's reckless interference in internal YR politics.
That's not
Let
the-
me finish, Matt.
That's
Let
not,
me finish.
that's not what's
Let me
currently
finish,
being
Matt.
debated.
Let me finish.
It's just a motion to postpone. This is not on the motion. Just keep your remarks to the motion.
That is the motion to postpone because it is your involvement that caused the rift, and we need to stop interfering in the internal affairs of auxiliaries. TFR, it's no secret in this room that TFRW is frustrated because of our interference. So we need to postpone this. We need to, I agree with Gail, we need to take a look at our relationships with our auxiliaries. And before we ask, are auxiliaries worthy to affiliate with us? We need to ask, are we worthy of being affiliated with? So based on the actions that have happened, we definitely need to postpone this and take another look at auxiliaries.
Okay, against?
Against. David Wiley, SD 12, wanted to speak against postponing this to a later date until we can do something else. As a former chair of the committee, I saw many partnerships come in, and we've had many since. This is the same path that they've all went. I don't believe that we'll gain anything from postponing this to December. I don't believe that doing it now will cause anything in December to not be able to happen that'll happen in December. We need to take this action now, answer the question if you do or don't agree with bringing these people in, and postponing it will not serve this body in any way. So I'm against postponing it.
I'm speaking for.
Karen?
Mr. Chairman, you said just now that you would like to heal the rift and unite the party and invite the old group back. But if we approve this new group, then we are pretty much telling the original Young Republicans, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I mean, seriously, because the new group, let's not increase the rift. Because approving the new group with the near identical name that nobody can tell apart tells them, we've replaced you.
This is argument on the main motion. Can you keep it to the postpone?
Yes, and so rather than fast track this group, I say we treat them the same as we treated all the groups that Rachel mentioned. None of those groups has been approved yet. None of those groups are up for a vote. High school Republicans, the Latinos, we haven't taken a vote on any of the groups that have come before us, this meeting or the last, except for this one. This one has been fast tracked. And that's not treating all the partners fairly. So I don't believe that there is any harm in postponing it. Let's see what the new group does, see how they turn out. Let's see what their results are. And then we can, later time, they're qualified, then we can vote on them. But as of right now, I think we need to postpone all of these because we don't have a set policy and we're not treating all of the partner organizations equally. This would be unfair and this is rash, and we need to postpone until December.
Thank you. John?
I'm speaking against.
By the way, we have 3, 4, this is the last one against.
I'm speaking against. John Carr, SD 22. I rise to speak against the motion, and I have great respect for my colleague Rolando, but I disagree wholeheartedly that you do not have the position of speaking to other organizations and encouraging or discouraging all those organizations. As the leader, you're our leader. The second point is that if we postpone this, then we're telling the committee that has already done the work, your work is worthless. So I rise to speak against the motion. And I do need to add one more thing. And that is that the YRs chose to leave us. So if we have a new organization that is following along with our principles and our preamble that wants to come back in that was a part of that group, there's no reason why we should say, oh no, I'm going to have to wait another 3 months to let you know whether or not we're going to let you in. I rise against this motion.
Okay, that's 3 against. We're now going to vote. Now, the vote is on the motion to postpone to a time certain in December.
Roll call.
Okay, we got a roll call on the motion to postpone. Oh, sorry, do you have a second to have a roll call vote? We have to vote. Second by Jan. All in favor of taking a roll call
Point of order,
vote?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
A roll call vote requires 20% of the members to order a roll call vote under our SREC bylaws. It's not an up or down vote.
Is that, okay. Please let me know once you get 20% of the members on a sign-up sheet to make the motion. So it's 20% of the members to make the motion. We all saw in the Texas House sign-up sheet, 10 members to challenge the ruling of the chair. Here, we have 20% of the members for the roll call vote. I promise you, if there's any question, I will hit the roll call vote, and we will have a roll call vote on the main motion anyway. We are now on a vote on the motion to postpone. A yes would postpone it to December, a no would reject the motion to postpone. All in favor of the motion to postpone, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The noes have it. We are now on to the main motion, 3 against. I'm going to try to alternate if possible. So, who wants to go?
4.
Let's do David.
David, you go first.
David Wiley, SD 12, speaking for the approval of this partnership as presented by Jerry and the committee. It's been stated that this organization is rushed in, is new, is at odds with their main organization, but we've all worked with these people over the years. I was a YR before I was a regular R. And, you know, of course, there came a point in time where they told me I had to go away. And then that organization actually changed their name to a federation of YRs. So the YRs have been growing over time. In the last few years, or last couple of years especially, we've seen YRs, from my point of view as I get older, standing for things that maybe I don't stand for. And, you know, there were concerns. And some of those same people who we have, from our grown-up point of view, have said, we don't agree with you so much anymore, they're now leading that other organization. The people who are here today asking us for partnerships are the ones that I agree with. The good conservative people that stood with us this past legislative session worked for our legislative priorities. These groups and organizations, I've been to their club meetings to some extent, not to every one of them, but I've dealt with these young Republicans. I can tell you they are the kind of people we want as partners. This is not a rush to partnership. Please support including these people in the Republican Party of Texas. Thank you.
Against, Jan?
Yeah, I'm speaking against. I am here to represent the YR Club of Travis County. We are the largest and still growing at almost 700 members of YRs. I have nothing against this group that's coming in, other than the fact of they are not YRs anymore. If they want to be young professionals, young nationalists, young whatever, I welcome them. But they are not YRs. So I would vote against them and recommend everybody else to vote against them for that reason. They can come back in December and be another club, and I welcome them and I would vote for them and absolutely be in favor, but they are not YRs. And my 700 members have asked me to speak up and say they are not YRs. And our YRs left because of a rift with the chairman. I'm sorry, they did. So I would vote against. Thank you.
I am speaking for. Okay?
Yes, you're recognized. Thank you.
I need everyone's attention, and I need you to pay attention to why we are here. Our country is at a severe place. Texas is worse. I began my journey and I stayed fast with every single principle, and all those principles, everything is at risk. I do not know how we're going to get Texas back, but I do know that the only thing that needs to be in everybody's mind is who's going to make it into the presidency. Nothing else I can argue with. To me, this seems petty. I'll take anybody that wants to stand up and fight with me. I need every hand, every cell phone, everybody block walking. I don't care which organization you come from. If we're headed in the same direction and we have the same goals, I need you there. With that being said, as a committee of partnerships and coalitions, there needs to be another committee that works with them, helps coordinate with them with what we need to win this election. With that being said, I put myself forward, and Dana's watching, and Dana Myers, that we will head that committee, work with any group that wants to work. And we will do that on a regular basis to get where we need to go. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no objection, would the chairman of the Texas Young Republican Federation be allowed to speak?
Texas Young Republicans Federation? No, they are not affiliated with our organization.
Well, you recognized a previous speaker who was not affiliated with our organization.
That is directly a motion for a group that's coming before us. When the high school Republicans are here, the high school Republicans can speak in front of our meeting. A group that doesn't like the high school Republicans doesn't get to be recognized to go malign them. So would you like to speak against?
Yes, that I'll speak against the approval. I think what we just saw right now, it's very disingenuous for our chair to say we'd love for TYRF to come back and to show and to be constantly poking them in the eye. I think what you have done over the past several months has been very damaging to the party and its relationships with our auxiliaries.
Objection, personal attack.
I have great respect for this new organization and many of the people involved in it, and I hope they're successful. But this process of how we do auxiliaries and the context in which it is happening is very, very divisive. We are inserting ourselves into an internal YR fight. Our chairman has inserted himself into that fight. We are alienating people. We have already alienated TFRW. I mean, how many more auxiliaries do we have to alienate, okay? We need to take a step back on this entire partnership and coalition process. And in fact, I think the whole committee is a waste of time. And I think we should do away with it entirely, because all it does is cause division. We can support any Republican group. We will work with any Republican group that supports our priorities, like the new group. But having this formal affiliation process creates division, which is exacerbated when we have a chairman who's determined to exacerbate that division.
Matt, speaking for.
Matt Patrick, Senate District 16, speaking for. I'm going to be very real in some of my comments, and some of you are not going to be happy, but so be it. I think we need to get everything out in the open. I kind of liken this to what's happened in the Protestant churches. There's a group that has worked diligently and over a long period of time in many of those denominations to gain leadership and basically capture the institution. And then once they get their way and they put in policies that are not congruent with the history of the organization, they find that many of their members, who they thought they would have control over, leave and go form a new church. And I think that's what's happened with YRs. I think that they thought they had control, and they're fighting for control of the voices of a lot of their members when a lot of their members disagree with their policies. And so they split off to start a new organization. And now the old YR group is unhappy that other people are exercising their constitutional rights to free association. So I think this new group has a tremendous rationale for going and starting. I think all of this talk about we're inserting ourselves into their fight. Remember who started the fight. I mean, they left. They left. We want to work with the new group. I'm in favor of working with the new group. I'm in favor of their right to name themselves what they want. I'm in favor of their right to affiliate with the party. I think the bottom line is that the leadership of the federated group thought that they had it in the bag. When these people decided to leave, he realized that he had made a political mistake. And he is in danger of having a lot of his membership leave and go to the new group because that's who they believe.
Thank you. Karen, this is the third against, and that's it.
The new group that we are voting on is calling themselves the Young Republicans of Texas. And they've already, in the last week that they formed themselves, created social media accounts. That's what they are submitting as their official name as partners. The group that is over 75 years old, which had been a partner until last month, is the Texas Young Republicans. That's a little confusing. And I say that's pretty deliberate because they have no problem with accidentally being taken for the original group. And the group did not withdraw from the party. They withdrew from the party until Matt Rinaldi is no longer the chairman or until the rift is breached, until it's fixed. And it was directly because of his actions of disrespect. And knowing that he had this new group ready to go to replace it, he had no problem with being happily, publicly insulting the Texas Young Republicans. He endorsed a candidate from Virginia against the candidate from Texas. And even if he didn't care for the candidate from Texas, all he had to do was not insert himself in a national federation race in a group that he is not in.
Keep on topic, please.
So the new group is not it's not forming for a positive reason. So we should not be treating them with so much more deference than we did the high school Republicans, which have not been approved yet. We have not even voted on 3 of the groups which have come before our committee. This one's getting exceptional treatment. And that's not right of us. And besides that, we'll be increasing the rift. This is not, we can't replace them.
Time.
And this is going to cause irreparable harm.
Time.
Mr. Chairman, is there any more speakers for, or have we used up?
There's no speakers for or against left. That's it. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I do have 2 points of information.
Yes, please. What are your points?
Actually, both of them more or less clarifications. Chris Bird, ST25.
Okay.
Throughout the course of yesterday and today, I have seen and I am seeing more of an increasing pattern.
You got to ask a question.
I will. Do we have any rules in place to address personal attacks and bullying while we are in session? This is something personally I'm not used to in a court of law, but it seems to go on here. And my question is, do we have such a mechanism? And if not, can we put one in place?
We do. I've been fairly lax with it. I figure I'll let Rolando and Karen beat up on me a little bit.
It's not just you.
That's all right. So yes, we do. I want to give leeway because I want to let everybody be fairly heard. That's all.
The second point of information is I'm assuming, and I just want to confirm, that should this group be voted in today, I hope they do. If in the future there are issues there, do we also have the mechanism to disenfranchise with them?
Yeah, it would just be a simple majority vote. So if there is an issue in the future.
Thank you.
Scott Bowen, SD6, point of information, and I'm not asking for any debate here, but can either you or the chair of partnerships and coalitions speak to what the requirements are for a partnership, and have they been met in this case, and for other groups that have come before the committee, what is missing that they still need to do?
Okay, let me explain something. We have received bylaws and constitution from this new group. They do align directly with our platform and what we stand for. We have not received anything from the high school group or what was the other group? Latino group. We've not received anything from them as of yet, but we've already seen what they want. That's what our guidelines are, that they align with us and stay aligned with us.
And the documents are in the folder provided to you for any members who are looking at it. Okay, we're going to move on to a vote, and I do have to apologize. I spoke with Karen. She had asked for a roll call vote on the other one. I'm being in the House, I'm used to sign-in sheets for multiple person motion requirements. But unlike the House, you guys don't walk around. So it's just practically impossible, basically, to do that. So I talked to Karen, apologized for my error. She does want a roll call vote on this motion. So if anyone wants to move for a roll call vote, can you please stand up? We need 20% to call a roll call vote. Yes, but we don't use it and do a voice vote if 20% don't stand up. If 20% don't stand up, it's a non-record vote. Okay. And hold your hand up if you have a proxy. Well, how many? Rolando's 2. Well, she doesn't have a proxy. She is a proxy. So 11. 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times 5. Okay, we're short. Please sit down. We counted. Yeah, we got 13. 14? No, that's 13. 13 is the threshold. Okay, so we got a roll call vote. We're not going to vote on the motion to accept Young Republicans of Texas. Please press yes if you want to accept them as a partnership. Vote no if you do not. Press 3 to abstain. Have you figured it out? One is, hold on, quiet. You vote 1 for yes, accepting them into the partnership, 2 for no, to reject their application for the, or to reject the motion to accept them as a partner, and 3 for abstain. 1 for accept, 2 for no, 3 for abstain. Is it open? It is open. Voting is open. And mine's not working. I have no battery. I have no battery. Please show the chair voting aye. The what?
If we got you showing.
Just add the talks.
All right. Show the chair voting aye, and voting is closed in 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. What are the totals? By a vote of 43 to 18 to 2, if you include the chair's vote that doesn't have a battery, the motion passes. Welcome to the family. Do you have anything else? Is the lunch here? Not yet? Okay. Somebody texted me and said 11:30. Do what? We're going to do Candidate Resource Committee. Susan Wright. Can we get order, please? Can we get order? Okay. Everyone just ignore me and keep talking. Order. Candidate Resource Committee.
You guys know you're dying to hear from me. Thank you, everyone. I'm thrilled to be the chair of the Candidate Resource Committee. Can our committee please stand up? I'm thrilled to do this. Thank you, everyone. We have some members who couldn't make it today. So we had a good time yesterday. Everybody was indulgent. We got a little out of sorts with our schedule, but we did fine. We got a lot done. So moving forward, we're getting into election season for us to get everything in order so that we're ready to go by the time the convention happens next year. So we're glad to have our new political director on board. He's agreed to come and work with us on strategy, looking at overall strategy plans statewide for elections so that we can start looking at what we're going to be working with for our down ballot races, where our challenges and our opportunities are going to be. Each of you is going to get an email from our committee with some specific questions about your districts, your counties, and how we can help you with us in the CRC. So we're working on strategy, we're working on technology so that we can streamline and fix and simplify the application, and to get all of our information to you all in electronic form so that we can quit with as many envelopes because those are complicated to deal with and people don't like to fill everything out and then we have to chase them down, blah, blah. We also want to increase our monthly donors, but we'll get into all of that later. And we want to start working with you all more so you can tell us what's happening in your counties. We're also going to outreach to our county chairs to do the same thing. Tell us what you need. Tell us what you want from us, what your expectations are. Tell us the races that you have your eyes on. And then we want to start helping where we can there. So I have a fast quiz. Do you all know how much is asked of you every year? $1,000 from each member every year, $2,000 per term to give a raise. So if you can write the check, thank you. If you can get the donors, outstanding. We still ask, even if you can write the check, see if you can get people in your district to donate. Y'all, we're happy with $5 a month. We're thrilled with it. That's $60 a year. We're going to put all this in an email and send it out to you to help for talking points. Second question, how many counties do we have in Texas? 254. This is math day. Sorry, I didn't say that up front. So, I didn't do a slide. If everybody in here does their 1,000 on average, No, I'm sorry. Everybody in here does their 1,000 per year per term. That's $124,000. If we can get an average of 1,000 per county, recognizing some counties can't, others can go way over that, we'll have 254,000, which will give us $378,000 for our down ballot races. That is extraordinarily meaningful money, y'all. That gives us enough money to dump money into races that we could otherwise not pick up, to flip some seats. That gives us money to hold seats that are trending down where they can't raise the money, they don't have the resources, but they have a good candidate and a good shot if we can help them. 124 is kind of baseline. That's sort of what we have. I won't say all the time, but that's in the area of where we spend. It's usually a little more. In past years, it's sometimes been a little less, but that's sort of like our benchmark, and that gets us through, and we've done good work with it. Anything more is gravy, but if we could get to our 378, we know it's aspirational, but we have faith. This is a presidential year, and we know that you guys are going to step up to the plate. Our county chairs are going to step up to the plate, and so you're going to start getting a bunch of information from us to help you do that and give us feedback so we can help you do that. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the chance to work on this committee and chair it, and I appreciate our committee.
Not here yet? Okay. Oh, which, yeah, I'm not going to start with that. Do you think we get resolutions done in 10 minutes? Anybody? You can do rules? Okay, just because I want to see that. Okay. If there's any objection to Steve getting rules done in 4 minutes, hearing none.
We can try.
Yeah, we can try.
Can you get that to us real quick? My time doesn't start till y'all get it on the screen. All right, time's not starting until they catch up.
All right, this is the biggest oversell I've ever heard in my life, Steve.
Still may make it. Get the. There we go. Thank you. I'm going to start a stopwatch. Thank you so much for my committee. No need to stand. Members, this is a real simple change. I think the chairman, I think he could speak. If not, the chairman of the resolutions committee agrees with it. We get an influx of resolutions, so they wanted to establish some quick criteria for who could submit a resolution. So it adds, they may be submitted by an SREC member, a county chairman, or a CEC at a properly called meeting. Don't mess with me. We're going to get this done in 4 minutes. Move adoption. Yeah.
You don't need a second on it. Move adoption of resolutions to be submitted by particular individuals. Seeing absolutely no one standing at the mics right now. We're going to call for a vote. Please use your voting machine. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Linda, would you vote yes for me? Mine's laying there. I don't want to take time to walk back there. I'm in the room. Here we go.
That's good. Oh, you're timing?
Nice. I'm on the same flight as the chairman today, so we're trying to save some time.
All right. What you got? Oh, thank you. Voting closes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. By a vote of 48 to 7, the motion passes. Sorry, I'm talking slow because I'm watching his clock and I'm trying to make him miss the 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to my committee. That was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That's my report.
Is it here? Gotcha. What do we got next? If there's no objection, we'll take out of order. Is anybody here to do the Legislative Priorities Committee report for Jill? Nobody? Kelly, were you or?
Can I have some of his?
No. No, you can't.
So do we have anything else on any other LPs, committees? Because if we don't, I'm going to catch up on what's going on at the border. Anything? Yes, sir? Are y'all aware that they still haven't stated exactly what's coming up in the special sessions? We are a question. For sure, they're going to hit education. For those of you that worked on the others or just have lots of spare time, education is going to need all of y'all, and they will provide the points. I'm sure that points of conversation that you need to get up and testify with, and I'm sure that everybody in here can do that. If you're for it, against it, they need you. Election integrity. We're hoping that we have more of that laid out so that they can work more with the individual county chairs through the state. They are working on a release. Are you? There's been some discussion about some new county chair organizations coming up, and you want to keep an eye out for that to see what comes forward. That's going to be real important as far as our training goes for our individual chairs. Some of y'all are involved with your chairs, and some of you are not. You know, I get involved when there's an issue. They like to bring their problems to me. Anything else in that order, Chris? So I'm gonna go to some heavy duty stuff real quick. I know a lot of you have getting calls. I'm getting calls from all over the state on the federal government, Border Patrol cutting the wire. Okay, to let you know, there's an investigation underway on that by the Texas Rangers. And any of your people that would like to call in, I have his personal cell phone. And I have the office number. Okay, so if you want to text, you can. Don't call him. And but please just tell anybody anywhere that they can call that ranger office. It's in Eagle Pass itself, and tell them that you demand an investigation into it. His name is Ranger Joe Sanchez, or Sanchez. His number is 830. Oh, okay. Call your Eagle Pass office, and that's his name. As most of y'all know, I'm from Kenny County, and we are 5,000 cases behind right now. And there's other counties that are doing that too. And those cases have all to do with border. However, the other side is challenging all those cases because they said that we are discriminating against the men because we didn't have jails for women. And that is a fact. We didn't. It took us 2 years to get them, and you can't just have one. There's so much things that you have to do. It has to be air conditioned. It has to be nice. It can't, you know. And so for the last 6 months to a year, they started hiring. A lot of the smugglers are women, and we let them go, and we see them next week, and we let them go. But now we have jails for them. They have to be bussed a long ways. But that is coming up in October. And we are looking for people across Texas that have experienced cost, if possible. If you have something to say about this, if you have knowledge, we actually have a paper that needs to be signed. We have 2 weeks, and it needs to be notarized. And anybody that is interested in being a part of that at all, you can speak to Rachel over here. She'll take your number down. That's real important. I mean, we have spent, guys, just today, there was a bailout, yesterday. So we're all on text notices, emergency. And when I was driving down here, it came out and it just said 5 bailout by school, 5 have absconded, armed and dangerous, headed towards school. 3:45. That's nothing. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's all the time. It's in our neighborhoods. It's helicopters. It's lock your door. If you let somebody out like it's stripes, and you got to know, I just have 1 stripes, but you got to lock your door because they come up and get in the cars. They need a ride. They'll pay you. They're hungry. They've been let out of jail. They don't have any place to go. I guess cartel wasn't interested in them or something, because most of them just get picked up and taken where they need to go. And yes, I do live in the United States of America. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to touch on something. Is Steve still here? Well, I'm going to step on his toes. There's a text that is floating around, and you will see it. And it's out by the governor. It's about the invasion, the Declaration of Invasion. And in case y'all didn't know, it really did happen in November. I live on the border, and I haven't seen a difference. We kind of declared it. The Attorney General, which is kind of indebted to a lot of people right now, and we are live streamed, and I need that opinion released from the AG's office on the invasion. I needed it last fall, but we really do need it now. So we can do something about the invasion so that we can actually see real results on the border. We're not building a wall yet, in case you saw that on that same text. There's a text out by the governor, and I know he doesn't do them, somebody else does, but it says that we have declared an invasion and that we are building the wall. Does anybody have knowledge of the wall being built right now? No, and I have knowledge that it's not. We do have razor wire, and they have wire cutters. And I do have a buoy that's a short distance in Eagle Pass, and you go around, okay? Everybody knows, and I'm not just griping to you, and I'm not just making this is all fact, but it is real, and I would love, I understand that Steve Ministeri has the ear of the governor because we can't get to him, and I would love for him to let some of these sheriffs and other law enforcement go speak to him so that he is aware of this. The last one on there is that we are repelling at the border. Who has news that we're not? Has anybody seen news that we are? Well, we're not. The only time we did is when Title 42 lifted back in May, and for 2 days we repelled in Brownsville. We do not repel them. All illegals are turned over to Border Patrol, and all illegals are let go if they do not have a criminal record. I see doubt. I would love for you to check those facts. Yes, sir. Yes, they do not have a criminal record in the United States. They could have all been let out of jail in another country. It doesn't matter. No. And I love it when people say, just close the border. Guys, they've been traveling for 6 months from all over the world where we donate money to. And they're coming here and we're still giving them money and there's no oversight for that money. And on the underground radio right now, it says they better hurry and get here. This is all over the world because Trump's leading in the polls. And when he gets here, they're not going to make it in. And that is the reason. That is the reason for the numbers. So I know you're hungry.
Kelly?
I'll let them go. You can now go eat.
Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Could
Okay.
I-
Thank you. Okay.
It's like I've been prepping for
Yeah,
this.
you
Kelly.
I tell you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, could I just give a very quick supplement on the border from legislative priorities?
Yeah, keep it quick because I'm sure everyone's.
Just something for y'all to keep your eye on. In regards to the buoys, you may recall that Biden has sued Texas. And we need to keep an eye on that legislation. We just recently lost in the federal trial court, and it's now been moved to the Fifth Circuit. But chief at the center of that is the Invasion Authority, which we addressed in our own resolution a number of months ago. And that is the chief argument that's now going to the Fifth Circuit. Something to keep an eye on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, here's the deal. Lunch is here. When you leave your clickers on the table. Get the buffet lunch. Please be back here in like 10 minutes because Congressman Arrington wants to say some words to you guys. So just grab it and come right back to your seat and meet it there. Thank you. We'll stand at ease for 15 minutes. Everybody, please take your seats. We're about to play a video, and then you will be addressed by Congressman Arrington. Thank you, Congressman. We're very happy to have you here today. Also, thank you to Congressman Cloud. Also want to thank Congressman Arrington, Congressman Cloud from this morning, and of course, Representative Todd Hunter for sponsoring our event last night. We appreciate all of their help and support. Thank you. We're going to play a video, and then Congressman Arrington, come on up.
Feels like West Texas is the last bastion of freedom sometimes. The fact is that the enemy is the policies that would turn this great nation into Venezuela, Cuba, the former Soviet Union. We have to have energy independence and food security. We need to restore peace through strength and America's leadership on the world stage. We need to fight the woke and the waste at the Pentagon so that we're not training them in pronouns, we're training them how to fight and win wars. We need to come out with a farm bill that will strengthen rural America and make sure that we have food security. We've got to let God-fearing, family-oriented, hard-working people know they are welcome in this party. So what's our common cause? This constitutional republic, our God-given freedoms and our fundamental rights, our traditional American values. And by the way, those are the values of the people of West Texas. That's why this is God's country. That's why I can't thank you enough for letting me be your voice in our nation's capital. God bless Texas. God knows we may need this to be the last bastion of freedom and hope for our children and for the next generation of Texans and maybe folks throughout the nation. This is a perilous time for the country. We're in crisis. We're in decline. And this is our hour to fight for the heart and soul of this country. These are the most consequential times, at least in recent history, for this nation. And I think, as I say often, we're going to either renew our faith in God and freedom and return power back to we the people, or we're going to submit to the rise of socialism and secularism, moral relativism, and the tyranny of government control. And those aren't just the two paths. That's not just the direction that the country may slip and slide down. It is the identity that we're fighting for of our nation. As I said, the heart and soul. Matt, thanks for the opportunity to say a few words. I appreciate what you all do for our common cause. For keeping Texas red, for our platform, most importantly, the policies, the principles, and the values that we espouse and that you all defend. And I'm grateful because I know you all make tremendous sacrifices and you spend a lot of time and you've made a lot of investment, and it's paying off. And we appreciate it. I see Steve and Linda, my SREC reps from God's country in West Texas, the food, fuel, and fiber capital of the world. Guns up. Yeah, y'all can clap for that. Even you Aggies can give a round of applause for that. Also, again, Matt and the leadership for the Republican Party of Texas and the folks here in Corpus Christi. I know Morgan and Carmen, if they're here, thank you for being great hosts. Susan Wright, can't help but mention Ron Wright, my colleague who I was proud to serve alongside. He had one term in Congress, and then the Lord was just, he says all of our days were written in his book before one came to pass. And so God knew he wanted Ron to come home with him. And I was there as Ron and I both stood to defend the Constitution and reject the certification from certain states. And And I said, Ron, what are you doing up here? Didn't your doctor say that this is too risky? He said, yeah, but you know what? This is what the people elected me to do, and I'm going to stand and defend the Constitution and our great republic. And that was a man that is a true patriot, loved God and his country, and he inspired me every day, Susan. So God bless the legacy of Ron Wright. I'm not used to standing behind a podium. I'm kind of antsy to move around, but I can tell I'm anchored here with these wires. So I'll do my best to stay here. I'm a little animated, so just watch out. Step back. There's a lot to be animated about. Texas is at ground zero for the last few years of Joe Biden's self-inflicted crises, and they are many, and we really don't have time to go through all of them, but we are on the front lines, and we're at ground zero when it comes to the lawless and chaotic border, which is a complete and utter disaster. We've experienced the unrelenting whole of government assault on our energy independence, but every state and every American has suffered from the reckless spending that has resulted in record high inflation, interest rates, a weak economy, a country that is so amassed with debt that we are slipping closer to the precipice of a sovereign debt crisis, which would not only undermine, by the way, our future prosperity, but it would jeopardize our security, our leadership in the world, our way of life, and most importantly, our children's future that we're supposed to secure. Remember, secure the blessings of liberty. All of it is in peril because of our reckless, unbridled spending and this unsustainable debt and the unfunded liabilities into the future, which are mind-blowing. And I shudder every time I look at those numbers and think, how are we going to keep this thing on the rails and keep this country from just imploding under the weight of all this debt? So there are lots of threats. The crime spree throughout the nation, the weaponization of our government against its own people, the incompetence, the feckless and weak foreign policies that have emboldened our adversaries like China. Think about this. What a shame. A nation as great as ours, the greatest in the history of humanity, has ceded control of our sovereign borders to terrorist cartels and has unilaterally surrendered our energy independence to our adversaries like Russia and China. I don't have to tell you all this. I'm preaching to the choir. I know where you stand. Probably China would be the biggest existential threat, adversarial threat, and I don't think China, when they're in rooms like this talking about the new world order where they're the superpower, not us, I don't think they feel they have to fire a single shot to win that war. I think they're watching us do a pretty good job. We can't even shoot a spy balloon down for 7 days as it flies across the continental United States. You don't think that they don't feel good about the position they're in? Their military is larger than ours. Their weapon systems are more sophisticated and capable in some cases, with hypersonic weapons for sure. We can't even pass out of the Senate, although we put it in the House legislation to prevent the Chinese Communist Party and anyone affiliated with our adversary China from purchasing land around military installations. We can't, the Senate took that out and replaced it with a study, like we need to study whether that is in the best interest of the United States. Can you believe that that's where we are? Enough about China. Let me talk about, because I don't have a lot of time and I want you to share your thoughts with me, and I want you to ask anything that's on your mind, and I'll do my best to answer it. It's getting harder to answer questions, Steve, after 7 years of being in Washington, but I am honored to be there. I really am. We talk about the swamp. It is swampy. It's a broken culture. And I said that when I ran, Steve, if you remember at the very beginning, I said, more than changing the course we're on, we have to change the culture, the broken culture of Washington that doesn't put the people's interest first. That's why I co-chair with a Democrat the term limit caucus. Because if we had a 22nd Amendment that basically expressed the sentiment and values of our country that we don't want a king, we ought to do the same for Congress, because we don't need career politicians in either chamber. It's bad for the republic. Speaking of broken root causes of the challenges we face as a country, our budget process is broken. The state is required to balance its budget. The local governments here in Corpus, your families and your businesses, everybody has to live within their means except the United States of America. You know, I believe God's hand was on our founders. I believe his providence gave birth to this country, and that God has blessed not just the American people, but freedom-loving, God-fearing people all around the world because of this shining city on a hill, this great experiment in liberty and democracy. But the Constitution's not God's infallible, inerrant, holy word, which is why it's been amended. And it needs another amendment to force Congress to live within our means, to balance our budget, and to save the country from a debt crisis that would knock the shine off the shining city on a hill. That's why I ran for budget chairman. I was 6 years into it, 3 terms. And I thought it was probably a big uphill climb to run for chair, but we got it. We got it because this has been the alarm I've been sounding before I even ran for Congress, and it's gotten exponentially worse since I got there. We're $33 trillion in debt. Most people can't, that means nothing to most people because we're numb to the trillions on the debt clock. But if you think about, we are at 10 percentage points higher, 127% debt to GDP. We're over a quarter bigger in the indebtedness of our country than our entire economic output of the largest economy in the world. And this is a 10-point increase over the second highest level of indebtedness, which was during World War II. We were fighting Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany. We're in relative peace and prosperity. And it's going to get worse. Our annual deficit, the gap in the revenue and spending for this massive and growing government, is $2 trillion this year. Republicans are debating about funding 1 year of 1/3 of the entire budget. That's the discretionary budget. That's what we're debating now. Our annual deficit, what we borrow to fund this government, is bigger than that and will double over the next 10 years, according to CBO, nonpartisan, $20 trillion, half of which is interest. 50 cents on every dollar doesn't go to a soldier or sailor. It doesn't go to a safety net to solve the insolvency for seniors. We get nothing for it. Interest payments this year is $660 billion. It's twice what it was last year. It's out of control. It's driving this mandatory spending that is driving the debt. We will spend more on interest than all of national defense in 3 years. Than all of national defense, the first and most important job of the federal government. While my Republican colleagues are debating this 1 year, 1/3 of 1 year discretionary budget, your fellow Texan passed the 10-year balanced budget out of our committee this week. We did our job, and we said, here's the blueprint. Here's the blueprint. We're not going to save listen, we got to get our fiscal house in order. We got to right size and shrink the bureaucracy. It's 40% bigger than it was before COVID. We got to root out the woke ideological programs at the Pentagon that are divisive and dangerous. We've got to do a lot of things, but I'm telling you, This is the path to 16 trillion in deficit reduction, the path to taking that 127, 50 percentage points lower. This is the path to making sure that our children have a shot of having their families and starting their careers and enjoying the blessings of liberty and opportunity. And I'm proud that we were able to do it. And I won't go into the travails and the challenges and the booby traps along the way of getting it done, but we said, damn the torpedoes, we're putting it out there. And nobody wants to, I mean, the Republicans have contributed to our national debt and our fiscal deterioration. Believe you me, we are as guilty as the Democrats. Now, the Democrats spent $11 trillion last year, 6 of which went to the national debt, all of which went to a cost of living crisis for Americans, working Americans especially. So they may be worse in their profligate spending, but we've used budgetary gimmicks that you don't know about, basically lied to you about reducing spending. We've waived pay-fors on legislation. We've waived spending caps like the ones we put in place after the debt ceiling deal. All I'm trying to tell you is that's part of the broken culture that we have to change. And then we have to change our policies. And then we have to have the courage, because at the end of the day, people say, why haven't we done it? Because we don't have the political courage. We were losing the political will. The folks after World War II, the reason we were able to bring it down, we basically grew the economy and we cut spending. But it sounds simple, but we had an American ethic that was willing to sacrifice the citizens, and we had politicians who were willing to tell the truth and have the courage to do the tough things. The jury's still out about whether we will. We, even as Republicans who have majority of the House, hopefully we get the Senate and the presidency. Second deal, I'll take questions on all this budget and debt stuff, but the border is the biggest, most imminent threat to the safety and security of the American people. This president is totally committed. I mean, they're committed to the left's agenda. I mean, one thing you got to say, they're committed. Nancy Pelosi was committed to the radical reimagination of the United States of America, to the vast expansion of our government, to the cradle to grave welfare and the entrapment of people in dependence and in poverty. They were committed to that. Are we committed? Are we committed to doing the first and most important job, which is to provide for a common defense and secure our border? Well, I can tell you the president's not going to change. I could give you all the different letters and legislation that I've signed, most of which is embodied in H.R. 2, which is our border security bill. It's going nowhere in the Senate. Chuck Schumer's not going to pass it. If he did, this president wouldn't sign it. If we impeach him, Kamala Harris won't do it. If we impeach her, the left has hijacked the Democrat Party. And I have to step back as a pragmatist, rural American guy and say, what do we do? Because we can't sustain 2 more years of what's happened the last 2 years. We cannot sustain it. It'll change Texas. And if we lose Texas, we lose the country. There's only one answer, and it's found in the Constitution, thank God. We don't have to be passive victims of a failed federal government, it turns out. It turns out that when the sovereign states that created the federal government, not the other way around, made this social compact we call the more perfect union that we call the Constitution, they said, well, before we cede all of our sovereignty and authority, we're going to put some safeguards in there, like Article 4, Section 4, and Article 1, Section 10. You are obligated, federal government, to do your first job. And your job is to keep us safe and free. So if you fail to repel an invasion, what good? It's just like I said in an interview yesterday. They said, is the government going to shut down? Are you worried about that? I said, look, if the federal government, the people's government, with the people's money, representing the interest of the people, can't even provide a common defense and secure our sovereign border and protect our families, what good is funding a federal government? What good is it? So the other provision in the Constitution, I think, is even clearer. It says if there's an invasion or, and I don't think anybody would argue there's an invasion enabled by terrorist drug cartels, military capable cartels, paramilitary cartels who are flooding our country with drugs that are killing more people than we lost in the Vietnam War. Now the leading cause of death for our fellow Americans 18 to 45. If that ain't invasion, I don't know what constitutes one. But the second one is broader. If there's an invasion or there's imminent danger such that will not permit delay. It is not only the authority and the constitutional power, but it is the responsibility of Texas. And I say Texas because one of the biggest problems with our country is we've turned federalism on its head. We've lost the 10th Amendment and our sovereignty and our independence as sovereign states, as laboratories of democracy. If there's ever a time to fight for our sovereign freedom as a state in this union, it's on this issue. This is a Churchill moment, ladies and gentlemen, not a Chamberlain moment. We can't endure anymore. I filed this legislation that doesn't create a new law because we don't need a new law. And I did it over 2 years ago. And for 2 years, I've been trying to ring the bell. I've gotten 80 members of Congress representing over 25 states. Over half the states in this great country of ours are standing in support of Texas and every state's sovereign right to defend itself. We can't wait. We can't hold back. We can't be half measured. We have to do the job the federal government's failed. This derelict president ain't changing, ladies and gentlemen. Are we going to change for the sake of our families and the future of Texas? Okay, it's a big task. It's a tall order. I know you can do it. So get organized and make this the reality so we can save Texas, save the country, and preserve a future we can be proud of for our children. Happy to take questions. I don't know if Matt will want. Yes, Matt, do you mind if I take a couple questions? I don't want them to think I'm.
First off, thank you very much. First off, thank you very much for the lunch. It was great.
Oh,
thank you for your service in Congress. And what can be done to get rid of the continuing resolutions way of doing business? Until we return to an annual budget, you are ceding your authority, your power, to shut down the government unless we do what we need to do rather than managing by the whatever the thought of the day is with these continuing resolutions.
There are lots of ways this budget process is broken. I've studied the Congressional Budget Act of '74. By the way, it's been there for a long time, and I don't remember many years it actually worked where we got a budget on time, we got all 12 appropriations on time, we got a budget for this country, and we're good stewards. By the way, the outcome was a good and responsible outcome. I carried legislation called No Budget, No Recess. So here's one simple way to change the dynamic and put the incentives that might change the behavior of members of Congress. If you don't finish your job, you don't go home until you finish your job. How about that one? That's just one. So there are others, but you're right. Now, I'll leave it at that. There's so much to talk about the budget process and the dysfunction, okay? But I think ultimately And I'll just say this, and my guys were like, you're the budget chair, you can't be for these things anymore. These are too radical. This is not radical. It's constitutional. And the reason we're not doing it is because we now have ideas like parts of the Constitution are somehow radical. What's radical is for us to sit on our hands and watch the country bankrupt our children's future. Now that's just dumb and radical. And so one thing I learned from Dave Walker, former Comptroller General, was this fact. We got the requisite votes. When I say we, states had the requisite votes, essentially, for a convention of the states, Article 5, Convention of the States, in the late 70s and early 80s. Had more than enough to establish or convene the states in a convention. Did you know that? Yeah, I didn't know it. I'll just tell you straight up. I didn't know that. And he gave me the numbers, and I read about the history of it. But there was no mechanism, and this is so typical of Congress, there was no mechanism to certify those votes, and then the Constitution says Congress shall convene a time and place. It never happened. So you talk about grieving or a grievous failure on the part of Washington. We didn't certify back in the 70s and 80s that there were enough votes and pick a time and place. So for decades now, we've had states concerned about what's going on in Washington, and the preponderance of the applications for a convention of the states were on a balanced budget. Were basically fiscal in nature because they saw what was coming, and we didn't do our job. And so I have a bill that basically says, we've already had the requisite applications. The numbers are there. We're going to count them. We're going to remedy that, and we're going to convene the convention of the states, and they're going to put the term limits on us because they got no confidence that we'll do it on ourselves. And they're going to tell us that we have to balance our budget, and they may tell us a few other things. Guys, the sovereign states, let's go back to the fundamental first principle. The sovereign states created the federal government, not the other way around. So we must not be passive victims of a failed Washington. So please keep the dream alive on the Convention of the States. I have one friend who's a constitutional conservative. I won't mention his name. He's a dear friend. And he's in the Freedom Caucus. And he says, I can't believe you're for the Convention of the States. You know, I don't know why you would support that. I said, well, why wouldn't you? And he said, aren't you concerned about a runaway convention? I'm concerned about a runaway Washington that runs us off the cliff, and into our demise where China's leading the world. That's what I'm concerned. I am not concerned about a runaway convention right now. Okay? Okay, enough of that. There are just some things to think about with respect to.
Congressman Ayrton?
Yes, sir.
Yep, thank you. Just a quick observation and then a question for you.
Yes, sir.
It strikes me as odd that we never make the argument when we're talking about shutdowns that we the Republicans are trying to cut the deficit, reduce the size of the government, and when talk of a cut down comes, the threat is, oh no, you're going to shut down the government. And I'm like, I'm trying to shrink the government and stop making these payments, and you're threatening me with the fact that we're going to stop making payments. I mean, throw me in the briar patch.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a negative to our side if the government shuts down, but we allow them to sort of play that in the press. And I think we need to try and flip that narrative around. So that's my observation. And now my question is, when, in your estimation, are we going to be able to get back to regular order on the budget where we do approval of each individual appropriation on its own and restore regular order? Because I think that's absolutely critical to our getting back to getting out of the all or nothing problem that you guys, the Congress has put itself in.
You bet.
So that's my question.
No, regular order on the approach is and there's no excuse for not having those done. I'm not on the Appropriations Committee. By the way, Michael Cloud is a freedom fighter, and we want Michael Cloud and the likes of Michael on the appropriations because he thinks the way I think most of you all think. But we haven't gone through, just like the debt ceiling, we haven't negotiated a debt ceiling. To your point, it's like it's the debt ceiling. It's there because our debt is running away from us, right? And it's supposed to be a check and a pause for us to reflect on the level of indebtedness and its impact. Yeah, but we're supposed to pause and go, look at this. Look at what the debt is doing to our economy. Look at what it's doing to crowd out funding for our priorities like military, which is at the lowest GDP per capita in decades, pre-World War II. But we could go on. It's not just Greece-like crisis that we have to worry about. It could be a slow, they call it the termites on the porch or the bear at the door. But either way, the decline happens and it undoes the republic. But we haven't done zero-based budgeting line by line to root out this ideological indoctrination stuff and the unnecessary stuff. And this is the first time in a decade. So I'm not making excuses for anybody, but this is the painful and sometimes too protracted process of when the Republicans are actually trying to change our culture and return to regular order. That's why we don't have this approach. I mean, there are other reasons, but we're doing it one at a time. They're coming out of committee. That's why some of the Republicans won't vote on 2 or 3 approps until we get the 2 that are remaining in committee. It's exactly what you're saying. And good for them, because it's lighting a fire and forcing our colleagues to say, we're not doing business as usual anymore. No more taking the Schumer, Pelosi, Omni disaster spending bill and just saying, we'll just plus it up a couple and then kick the can down the road and let the next group. So I'm telling you, my Texas colleagues are also leading that, I think, fight. And it's painful, but so is changing any culture that I've ever been a part of. And it's a good thing because we can't continue business as usual. So you're right, and we're pushing on that. And by the way, I get to say that, Madison, our founding fathers warned us about this moment. I'm always interested in my hero and the father of our country and what he might want to tell us after his tenure as commander-in-chief and president, right? Like, he decided to go to Mount Vernon. He didn't want a king and he didn't need a term limit. He just went back home and he said a few things. One of them was, don't put a debt burden on your children such that you aren't willing to bear. And Madison said, a public debt is a public curse, and in a Republican form of government, the worst of its kind. That's why we call this reverse the curse. We want it to be about our children as much as anything. You bet. I'll give you all copies. I'll send it to Matt so you can all look through it.
We'll do one more question.
I'll let you pick, Matt.
I'll pick so you don't get in trouble. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a retired federal employee, and don't be afraid to go ahead and shut down the government. Because as a federal employee, we still got paid. As a federal employee, we enjoyed the shutdowns because we'd have several days off for free, and we knew we were going to get our pay. But one thing the experience has taught me is the Democrats become much more pliable after you shut the government down, because most of the constituents that are hurt are their supporters. So they become a lot more pliable once they start getting that pressure.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. And as budget chair, I'm saying things that probably previous budget chairs weren't saying, but let's be clear about this. 2024, we either save the country or we lose the country. In 2024, this election is that critical. So what I'd like to do is take our funding bill and make it real simple. Put our border security measures in there, our conservative border security measures, send it to the Democrat Senate and make them choose whether they want to secure the border or shut the government down, and make them answer that question for the American people. Hey, God bless y'all. God bless America. Go Texas.
Okay, if you guys want to put your plates on the tray and then take your seats, we're going to start right away. Everybody, please take your seats. Jen, can you let everyone know outside that we're getting started? All right. Okay, Dan's here. We can start. I'm just joking. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. We have reports from the Rules and Resolutions Committee. Not rules, sorry. From the Resolutions Committee, sorry. Yeah, call upon Scott Bowen to present the Resolutions Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I thought I was going to have time to grab a cup of coffee, but we'll get through it. So thank you to all of the committee members who stayed over. Yesterday's meeting went a little longer than normal. I think we had a lot of difficult topics to go through, controversial topics, and so I appreciate every one of you and everyone who showed up to give your opinions and make sure that the grassroots of our party were heard. Ultimately. But before we go into votes, I did want to talk through a couple of other issues we went over as a committee. You probably saw already, and you see in the report that we voted on a censure of Andrew Murr. That did pass through the committee by a 7-2 vote. However, because of notice requirements, it would not come up until the December meeting. So that is something that will be voted on in December. It's through with committee. We will probably have a virtual meeting to discuss that in the meantime so that we have a resolution text put together, but ultimately the committee decided to concur with three of the violations brought by Medina County. So just to let you guys know that that will be coming. Another issue that we discussed was ballot propositions for the upcoming primary. One of the roles of the Resolutions Committee is to develop a list of ballot questions for the SREC to vote on. And so after discussion in committee, by a unanimous vote of the committee, we've decided to take the direction of making all of the ballot questions about a similar theme. And that theme is going to be border security and immigration. So, yeah, thanks. And there was much rejoicing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Please clap.
Thank you. So we will also have, over the next few months, we'll have some opportunities for SREC members to bring proposals to us and be part of the process of developing those questions so that we have a good list of questions on that very important topic to put before our primary voters in March. So with that, I think we can go ahead and move into the resolutions that we have in the report. There are 4 total. I do also want to make a quick mention that there were a couple of topics that became timely after our Tuesday 11:59 p.m. deadline, and so there's likely to be a motion to suspend the rules during new business to allow more resolutions to be considered. One of those would be for a resolution I authored and emailed out regarding the Colony Ridge development in Liberty County that I think is getting a lot of attention recently. And then the other would be a resolution authored by Matt Patrick congratulating our newest Republican Party member in Dallas. So with that, on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of a resolution to ask for Dade Phelan's resignation and vacating the chair.
It is moved that the SREC adopt a resolution to call for resignation of Speaker Phelan and to vacate the chair. Are you ready for the question? Okay.
We are not.
I'm not voting, I'm just debating.
Okay.
You had 3 for, 3 against, 2 minutes each. Does anyone want to speak? Does anyone want to debate the motion? Hearing none. Are you ready? Oh, I'm sorry. You're like hiding.
Camouflage. Sorry about
I know.
that. Chris Bro, SD3. If I could just have just a minute, Mr. Chairman.
You can have 2.
I'll take 2. I grew up with Dade Phelan in Beaumont, Texas. I went to a public school. Dade Phelan went to a private school. Public school, private school. Dade has always been a little bit of a jerk and kind of arrogant, but I consider him a friend. He's been very good to us in Jefferson County. Our party has lived at Dade Phelan's property for 12 years, rent-free. All that to say, Dade Phelan has violated specific planks of our party. If it were criminal action, it doesn't matter how good Dade has been to everybody, he broke the law. He's broken our laws. It's time Dade Phelan is made more responsive to us, the SREC, who he poo-poos like we don't matter, and to his voters, who he daily steps on by appointing Democrats and doing all the other stupid little shenanigans that he plays, and then comes back to Beaumont and says, hey, I've been a good boy. I've been a great, right? It's time to let Dade Phelan know who the bosses are. Us that run the party and his voters that put him in office. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for or against? Hearing none, we will move to vote. Please vote on your touchpad. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. We're not showing anything. Oh, you got it now. Okay. Anybody? Linda, Carmen, Steve Evans. What else we got? Yeah, Chuck Burnett, Kelly Perry, Gail, Galen. Okay, go through once more down after you go up, and then we'll cut it off. Okay, go ahead. Down. We'll close the voting. 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. With 58 yeas, 2 nays, and 0 abstentions, the motion passes. The resolution's adopted.
On behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move, actually, I'll talk about this one a tiny bit beforehand. We had I realized which one we were in the order. So this is speaking to Constitutional Amendment number 4. This will be one of the 14 ballot propositions from the state that are on the ballot. We had a subcommittee evaluate the ballot propositions using some analysis that was given to us by the counties and also by Karen Marshall. So thank you for that. And ultimately, the subcommittee decided to make a recommendation on proposition number 4 in favor of it, which is the increase in the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000 that came from the legislature. So with that, I move adoption of a resolution to support Constitutional Amendment number 4.
It's been moved that the SREC adopt a resolution to support Constitutional Amendment number 4. Are you ready for the question? Any debate? Hearing none, debate's closed. You'll now vote with your touchpad. Vote 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. You got it? It's not showing. Oh, look over on that side. I can't see anything. There you go. Okay. Voting will close in 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. By a vote of 56-0 with 0 abstentions, the motion passes. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. The next resolution that I have to present on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of a resolution to return to excellence in elections.
It's moved that the SREC adopt a resolution to a return in excellence in elections. Are you ready for the question? Is there any debate? Hearing none, debate's closed. We'll move to vote now. On your keypad, please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain on the resolution to return to excellence in elections. I'm sorry, it's over there. This screen is all messed up.
It went so fast that it took a second.
Sorry. Can you put the vote? We're still voting. Sorry, Shane. I went quick. If I do that again and they don't have it up, just stop me. Yeah, they're in the live doc that you guys should have. No?
I got them way at the bottom. They're also in the resolutions folder.
Also in the resolutions folder.
It didn't right. Oh, put it over here, Chad. Are you voting on this?
No.
Kelly Perry. You're the very top. Gail Stanard. Gail, are you Gail Gibble. What you hear? Chris Bishop. Landon Tinsley. Got it.
Okay. Voting closed in 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 59-0, the resolution, the motion passes. The resolution is accepted.
All right, and as the final resolution presented by in the shortest resolutions committee report I think we've ever had, on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of a resolution to thank the Texas Senate for their actions on impeachment.
It's been moved that the SREC adopt a resolution to thank the Texas Senate for their actions on the impeachment resolution. It's posted up on the board. You ready for the question? Any debate? Seeing none, we'll move on to vote. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. Bruce, Bill. Okay. Kelly Perry and Steve. All right, voting closed. 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 62-0, the resolution's adopted. The motion passes.
All right, and until new business, that concludes the report of the Resolutions Committee.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. Okay, we did rules, we did legislative priorities. I call upon Debbie Duke to present the Election Integrity Committee report. Is there anyone here to present it? Andy Eller will be doing election integrity. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, as Debbie was unable to be here, I'm just stepping in.
filling out, what we basically did in the committee. There wasn't a whole lot that we talked about. The main thing we looked at was the section 65 or chapter 65 of the hand counting of ballots. We have requested the Secretary of State's office to provide specific guidance on how you do hand counting. There's been at least one county who has election equipment, electronic equipment, that has opted to go to hand counting in the primary, and that is Gillespie County. And so we are, asking specifically from the Secretary of State's office direct guidance on how you enact that part of the election code, chapter 65, and they are promising us sometime late this week. We have the county chair meeting on Friday and Saturday for the training for the primary, so that's when that will come up. The next point of business we went over was requesting a special session for election integrity. And there are 4 specific areas we look at on that one. The first one was banning ranked choice voting, which we did actually pass a resolution here at the SREC a couple of sessions ago and banned that, or, requested that to be banned. It did not get all the way through. It got held up in the House. It was a Senate Bill 921, and we're requesting that the governor put that on a call, along with SB 990, which is eliminating countywide polling places. Those are considered problems. And in fact, if you're going to do hand count paper ballots, you pretty much have to get rid of countywide polling locations. You have to go back to precincts. And the other thing I want to point out is we just did pass a resolution where it actually mentions that in there, that we go back to precinct level. It doesn't say it in those exact words, but we go back to precinct level voting by the area. The other 2 pieces we looked at for special session were citizenship. SJR 35, which required 100 votes, failed before it would go on the constitutional amendments in November, so we did not get that on the ballot for this November. But I know you're saying, well, it's already required to be a citizen to be, to vote. And no, that's in the election code, but that doesn't preclude municipalities, water boards, school districts from making a decision to allow non-citizens to vote in their elections. That only pertains to the county and the statewide type of elections. And then the 4th piece was jurisdictional bills, and I'll elaborate on that here in a minute. But when you talk about jurisdictional bills, that's basically allowing prosecution of election crimes. We have been unable to get something through the legislature after they had ruled that the Attorney General does not have the ability to prosecute election crimes. So we're looking for other creative ways of doing that, and I'll hit those a little bit in a minute. The 3rd area we discussed was Senate Bill 1. I think many of you know that mail ballots, we're requiring through Senate Bill 1 to have the last 4 digits of their social security number or their driver's license number as their identifying number. And a federal judge actually ruled that that is improper. We do not have to do that. So we are asking our recently restored Attorney General to please appeal that ruling as quickly as possible, because we do want to get that back in place. And in fact, we believe the ruling was totally unconstitutional because it has already been found previously that voter ID laws are constitutional, and this is just a form of a voter ID law. The 4th and final piece we looked at was just discussing a central repository for volunteers for elections. Oftentimes the counties don't get a list of volunteers very well. So I'm working with Lucy Traynor trying to put together a form that can be used by SRECs when they go to whatever meeting they go to, Tea Parties, Republican Women's Clubs, Republican clubs, asking for volunteers for the elections, because oftentimes folks don't know where to volunteer. So this would be a method for doing that. So those were the 4 areas. And just back on the jurisdictional piece, we had Ken Moore step up and talk a little bit about basically 3 focus areas that he is working on for the next legislative session, trying to push through. And the first one is nursing home voting. As you know, oftentimes it's very hard in nursing homes, somebody even competent to vote, and looking at some type of method. And I know in the 85th legislative session, there was a bill filed that Oliverson actually filed that would turn that nursing home into a polling location of some sort, where then, you know, the election clerks and judges can go in and then work with the folks there to get the ballot, you know, their ballots cast, rather than having somebody in the office of the nursing home decide how they're going to vote all these ballots that have come in via the mail. The second piece, excuse me, to that was poll pad issues. Ken did try it, and I remember this very distinctly because Ken and I worked quite a bit in the legislature trying to get these things through, is poll pad timing. I think everybody's aware of the issue with Dallas and some of the syncing issues. And we're looking at if the poll pad is unable to be certified to be able to sync within 10 minutes with the central server or sync with each other, that will prevent people from voting in various, you know, multiple locations. Then that equipment would not be able to be certified. So that's the second area. And then the final area that Ken brought up was, this is the jurisdictional bills. We're looking at election marshals. This has been brought up in previous sessions, different pieces to it, different ways of looking at it, but allowing, again, prosecution for election crimes so that people actually do have a standing for a case, where they can be tried, and what does the enforcement actually look like. And so that's the report of the Election Integrity Committee.
Call upon Alma Jackson to present the Engagement Special Committee report.
Good afternoon. Our meeting was yesterday at 1:30, and we had 2 members that were not present. Roman Klein he had a proxy taking his place. Shane Green gave an excellent report on what he's doing. And what I do with this committee is I request a printed report of what they have done since the last SREC meeting. I did not receive one from Roman, and that was okay. So that's the reason I can't tell you what he did. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. It was a lengthy report, but it was very good work. Shane, are you in here? Where is he? Oh, sorry. That was good. Dale Gibble, he's been working with Harris, Fort Bend, and Fort Bend counties, getting their activists to adopt precincts. He attended a Leadership Institute training session focusing on block walking and proper ways to communicate to the constituents. I asked him to get me a copy of those proper ways to communicate with others to compare with ideas that I have. I have a natural ability to talk with people, and I think that's why I have recruited so many people into this party. We don't all have that, but I would love to compare what I do with what other ideas are. It's always good to learn something new, and the times do change. Things that would have worked 20 years ago don't work today. Y'all know that. This country's in a bad way. And we have a lot of young people. We need our young people, but a lot of their ideas, they don't line up with our platform. So I'm curious to see what the Leadership Institute can give us as far as new ideas to reach others. Mike Monreal, he's been engaging with veterans, and that is a huge opportunity. Veterans deserve so much, and they are affected by everything that is, we all are affected. Our veterans are affected. He's been talking to them, discussing Democrat policies about how the effects they have on our national security, our border security, veterans affairs. He's also been providing Republican platforms and updates at church groups in Guadalupe, Wilson, and Karnes County. Very good, Mike. Very good. Thomas Warren, great guy. He did not submit a report. He did give an oral report on what he did. And again, I didn't write it down. We were just listening. If I'd had a written report, I could pass it on. Good work. Maggie could not be with us. She has a shoulder issue. And knowing Maggie, hard-working, tough little lady, I'm sure she's engaging with everyone in the hospital who is dealing with her. Right, Jim? And Howard Barker, he has been working very hard trying to get our high schools to start up Republican clubs, and it's very much needed. But I'm going to caution that we have to be careful who we're bringing in, because a lot of our youth are confused, and we need some strong leaders to mentor and to disciple our young people. So that is a great thing that Howard is doing, but it's a tremendous task. He's been working with Turning Point USA, and of course, it's to start Republican clubs across Texas in high schools. He reported that they are using the Sci-Fair School Board election to develop a prototype approach to recruit students to become involved in Republican politics. And we desperately need young people. Young people who have their thoughts in order. And I do love young people. We were all there at one time. I've told y'all before, I used to be a flaming liberal until God got a hold of me, and boy, did I change. Thank God for that. My parents are glad. Myself, I have been speaking anywhere that I am invited, and I have traveled far and wide. I was in Tyler, Texas, either in May or June, and I paid for it because I got a speeding ticket on my way home. Over $100. I had been behind a great big pickup truck in a 65-mile-per-hour zone. It was barely going 50. So 40 miles of that, I was fed up. I came to a very small town. There was no one in the street, so I stepped on the gas and went around it. And I'm pretty happy further down the road, and I see these flashing lights. And I think, well, looky there, someone's getting a ticket. And just a few seconds later, I look again, I think he's after me. And he was. So I pulled over, and he says, "Are you in a hurry?" I said, "Not anymore." But that cost me $159. I took the safety course, and I did learn a lot. I needed that safety course. But I don't usually get tickets. I'm a pretty good citizen. I had to share that with y'all because that cost me quite a bit. Anyway, I don't like driving behind big trucks. But I do also find I get together with a lot of people. I'm from Bexar County. That's where I am, San Antonio. And I do a lot of little meetings at my home with small groups. And they're very successful because when you're in an intimate, well, I shouldn't say that, not intimate. Not like a man and a woman. I mean, a small setting, people, okay? Y'all understand? I'm tired. Anyway, it works well because the questions are answered, and we're in a very common area, my home, restaurant, anywhere where anyone's willing to meet with me. Small groups are very successful because I can take more time, answer a lot of questions. And believe it or not, I am bringing in a lot more people. Society is ripe right now for us to just bring in more because we all know what's going on. This country's sinking. And inflation, the cost of inflation, cost of gas, school choice, border crisis, all of these are great talking points, and they're hurting our nation. The Democrat Party owns them all, and Democrats are waking up. You wouldn't believe how many Democrat friends I have that I would stay off of politics with them, but they are calling me now. It is making a huge difference. And that's another reason we have to get the voting integrity in. We've got to control our elections. And the electronic voting is very hurtful. But because we have so many turning our way, and if we still lose elections, that's got to be a sign that something is very, very wrong. Because there is just too much dissatisfaction out there. I hear it daily. And I'm not even talking up politics. People just bring it up because there's so much griping going on. So engagement is something we should all be doing. We're not all gifted with that, but remember that you lose every shot that you don't take. You never know who you're going to reach. And I guess that's it. I wish you all a great fall, a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'll see y'all in December. And as always, stay engaged. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Alma, for all your hard work. I call upon Rolando Garcia to present the local government special committee reports.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this short. I think you've already seen the endorsements we've sent out for approval for the November elections, and we'll be sending out a few more shortly. But I wanted to take a minute to talk about what it means to elect conservatives to a school board, because we all talk about that. But once you elect them, what do they do? Well, in May, the party endorsed a slate of 3 conservatives running for Katy ISD. And that is the 5th largest ISD in Texas. And they all won. So now we have a conservative majority on the Katy ISD board. And just a few weeks ago, they passed a new policy that does a few things. It requires teachers to inform parents if their student requests to be identified as transgender, change their name, or use different pronouns at school. It bans teachers from asking preferred pronouns. It bans employees from teaching gender fluidity, and it keeps boys out of girls' restrooms and locker rooms. Those 4 courageous conservative school board members in Katy did more to fight back against gender indoctrination than all of the Republican congressmen and all of their, Fox News appearances and CPAC speeches, okay? This is where the fight is happening. And you would think, well, that's a common sense policy. How could anyone be opposed to it? Well, there were 3 board members who voted against it. Those 3 board members have presented themselves to the community as Republicans. One of them is even on the board of the local Republican Women's Club. Now, some might say, well, we can't, it's not our job to tell who's a Republican. But if you claim to be a Republican and you support gender indoctrination, we're coming after you. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, I got mixed up. Next, I call upon Gail and Devine to present the convention events special committee report.
Ones everywhere. Okay, you have. Howdy. I don't know if the Aggies are still winning. Okay, good stuff. Okay, convention committee, would you please stand? If you serve on the convention committee. So thank you very much for your hard work. We have 3 things for y'all. I know y'all are used to me getting up here and just not having much for y'all to do. So now y'all are on the clock. We have when it gets up here on the board, we have a uniform submission. Pretty please. Yes, uniform submission, please. One more. It's in your packet, in case you haven't read it. There we go. That's it. Uniform submission of county and senatorial district convention reports.
To remove adoption.
Yes. So the committee moves for adoption of this report.
It's been moved the adoption of the policy and the submission of resolutions to the 2024 State Convention. Is there any debate? Steve?
I've got a quick motion. I'm just making sure I've got the right document. Sir, where's the final?
Yes.
Right there. This is not what we.
Yeah, what? Yes. Is there more, is there another page?
There
you go. That's the part we need. I'm like, that's not it. There you go.
I move to amend to the red language on the last sentence and SREC members that Virgil's already got typed in there.
Okay. It's been moved that the resolution be amended to add the underlined red language. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Now we're proceeding to the main question, which is the resolution itself. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, it's a resolution. We're going to vote with our clickers. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Ken, would you please do A for me?
We're open now. Now voting to open.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Now vote. If you pressed it before, press it again. Donnie.
Linda.
Voting's closed in 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. Final vote is 61 to 0. The motion passes. The resolution's adopted.
Thank you. The second item of business is the booth policy that is in your packet for the 2024 State Republican Convention exhibitors. The committee moves for adoption.
Is this the same as?
Just, yes.
Any change?
Just rearranged it and put 7.
Gotcha. Okay, it's been moved to adopt the policies and procedures for 2024 State Republican Convention exhibitors. Move to discussion. Any debate? Hearing none, we'll vote with our clickers. Vote 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Ken, please vote yes for me. Should have brought my clicker with me. Look bad if I didn't.
Aaron, we don't have yours yet.
This is the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, the last one's a statute.
Donnie Weisenbaker. Okay, voting closes in 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed with 60 yeas, 0 nays with 1 abstention. The motion passes. The resolution's adopted.
Thank you. Okay, members, this is the last item. This is a statutory motion to get into the minutes. So, Mr. Chairman, pursuant to the Texas Education Section 174.092, the SREC Special Committee on Convention Planning moves to set the time and place of the biennial convention of the Republican Party of Texas State Convention convene at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Thursday, May 23rd, 2024, at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio, Texas. Make me lose my place. With in-person meetings of the temporary convention committees to begin at 11 a.m. on Monday, May 20th, 2024, at the same location. Convention temporary committees may meet electronically to organize prior to convening in person.
Excellent.
The committee, yes, the committee moves for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote. Number 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Last one, Ken. A for me, please.
Rhonda Ward, Donnie. Go down. Gail, Kelly.
Kelly? Kelly, please vote yes.
Oh. Voting closed in 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 61-0, the motion passes. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you very much. Our report is complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Call upon Matt Patrick, Chairman of the Platform Advocacy Committee, to report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Won't be a long report. Couple of things on convention. We talked about how platform committee would be run and what we should do. I don't know if I'm going to break the mic here. Yeah. So that last bit of what you all just approved was something that the committee did for me. So I want to thank you guys for passing that and for including it for the convention committee. We have had so much problems in the past with getting the work done in convention week. It creates a tremendous amount of stress with the long hours and all the various subcommittees we have on our editorial team. So in addition to improving the way resolutions are submitted from all the SDs, and I want to thank Karen Marshall for working on that. We are also going to be meeting electronically via Zoom or something else, which we'll work out, beginning 2 weeks prior to convention. So the subcommittees that generally meet on Monday will meet 2 weeks before, Monday through Friday, probably for like 2 hours or 3 hours a night, which will kind of equal the amount of time they would have worked if they were there on Monday. And then the Tuesday committees will meet the week before convention. So we'll get all of the sorting and some of the amending and drafting issues taken care of prior to convention week. And that will ultimately end up with, we believe, having much less pressure on the editorial staff, but also provide us with a much cleaner document. The other important reason why we're doing this is we frequently have complaints that there's not enough time for testimony. So by getting a lot of the clerical work and sort of the initial like straw vote for everything out of the way prior to convention, we'll be able to take more testimony on Monday and Tuesday during the subcommittees. So those are the two goals that we have. So we'll be probably implementing that plan as we move into convention week. I also want to remind everyone that that change will affect you all. And I ask you when you guys are picking the people that you're going to put on the platform committee that you bear this in mind, because instead of it being just a 1 week commitment, it will be a kind of a 3 week commitment. You know, they'll be meeting sort of after work for 2 weeks in a row. So just please think about that when you're picking people to assign to platform committee. Okay, second part, or second thing that I want to address, you know, we're a new committee and we had some grandiose plans for how we were going to track all the legislation on every plank in the platform, and that didn't really go very well. So we've kind of reassessed what our mandate should be about and what we're going to do in the next session. And what we've decided is that we will, over the course of the next 3 months and coming into the December meeting, all of our members will be reviewing the platform to recommend planks that we think would be most impactful for Republicans and voters across the state, and we'll be advocating for that specific subset of planks. So we won't be duplicating the effort of legislative priorities, of course, so we'll be picking a different set of topics and working on drafting legislation and working with the House and the Senate to get those things passed. So our concept is that we'll work on things that are more strategic in nature, more long-term in terms of some of the benefit. They're probably not going to be the sexy hot button things that get voted for by the delegates at convention that go to legislative priorities, but they're the things that could really have a dramatic impact on how the state is run. So a lot of them will probably end up being fiscal or financial or things like that, kind of long-term things. So that's what we're doing in Platform Committee, and that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Did you leave your phone? The Dallas delegation's not good with leaving stuff during meetings. Call upon, I know Morgan Graham is not here today. For those of you who know, her father is sick and she wanted to ask for your prayers for him. If you could, William Clayton Young, if we could at least have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. Thank you, Morgan. We wish your father the best and are praying for him. Is there anyone who is here to do the report in their absence? Bruce. There we go.
Good afternoon. And yes, our prayers definitely go out to Morgan and to all the SREC members that have family issues and problems and illnesses. And we pray for all of our safe return this evening. So let me hurry up with my reports so we might get there quicker. I think Morgan posted a link a while back on Signal that has all the races from statewide all the way down to state reps and Senate. We're going to be updating that link and probably have something with a header that shows it more from our committee. What we like is when it's updated and posted, please look at it, and we may be following up with some of y'all. And I asked you all to help in a specific task. Right now, there's a lot of Democrats that have no Republican opponent. Let's don't give them a free ride in November. We have a presidential election. Who knows? Anything can happen. Let's get our candidates on the ballot too and give the Republicans in those districts a candidate they can vote for. Let me see. We'll also be putting together some packets for new candidates. I know Morgan's getting one from Cameron County. We also ask that anybody that has some good candidate packets out there from any of your counties, if y'all email those or get them to me or Morgan, we want to look at them and include them in our updated candidate packet and look for any best practices and things to go in there. Packets generally include some TEC guidelines, best practices, contact list in the SOS and election offices, state and local parties, calendar of events, and calendar of statutory guidelines. Like I said, we'll get that all discussed and added into the packets. So we've got an updated ongoing list of candidates. We're putting together the packets, and we're also looking to do possibly some Zoom training with speakers and election attorneys, if we can find any good ones, to advise on these candidates. And I think that's the extent of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes the committee reports. We have unfinished business and general orders. At the end of our June meeting, we postponed a motion by Jim Pickle to amend the previously adopted standing rule of the local government committee. We'll pick up that motion exactly where we left it. As the rule currently reads as amended at the last meeting, the endorsements as approved by the local government committee stands unless it is objected to by 2 SREC members who represent a Senate district that contains the territory within the jurisdiction in which the candidate's running for election. Mr. Pickles moved to amend that rule by striking "or is objected to by 2 SREC members" and inserting "but it also must be approved by 2 SREC members" in order to make the motion one of positive confirmation. During that discussion, Mr. Bowen offered an amendment which was pending when we postponed this item. So we are currently discussing the Bowen amendment to this rule, proposed rule, by striking number 2 and inserting number 1. If the amendment is approved, the main motion would be to strike "or is objected to by 2 SREC members" and inserting "but it also must be approved by 1 SREC member." The pending question is now on Mr. Bowen's amendment. And our current discussion rules will apply, right? Three, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Bowen.
All right. Scott Bowen, SD6, and I'm very happy with where we left this. I think there was a lot of discussion about it, but really, where if the amendment to the amendment passes, the amended amendment passes, little Dave Thielenism there, amendment. And then we pass the overall motion. Where that will get us is, in order for a local endorsement to take effect, one of the SRECs representing that jurisdiction will have to actively approve that endorsement. That is functionally identical to the process we have now, where one SREC could object to it because there are two SRECs. So the math is the same. However, this does bring in more active involvement from the SRECs representing that area on the endorsement, make sure they're part of the process from beginning to end. And I think that is going to be a positive thing. I think our endorsement process has been working. I think we're seeing results, and I think it's very well thought out. And the RPT has been a very good partner to the county parties in this way, supporting their endorsed candidates. So vote yes, vote yes, vote yes, and we'll be done with this really quickly.
Jim.
Jim Pickle, SD8, I rise against this amendment. Y'all didn't think you were going to get the whole meeting without hearing from me, did you? Okay, good. Didn't mean to disappoint. Okay, good. The whole idea, it's not fundamentally the same. I think Scott's right. The math works out to the same way it is right now, but it is a different take on this. We are not very involved right now, the current rule, in the way local candidates are passed. They basically get the state endorsement by default. If nobody says anything, they get the state endorsement. That's really negative, and we need to change that, and this is the point of this amendment, is to change that. We need to have involvement by the local SREC members in this process, not just let it fly through by default. Now, here's the problem. You guys saw that thing that happened at the last meeting where I got that, vote to no confidence for me because I struck 7 of the members, 7 candidates that had Republican opponents. All right. And Rolando's like, okay, how do we define a Republican? Okay. Here's how you define a Republican under our rules right now. A Republican is one who votes in a GOP primary or a GOP primary runoff. That's it. If a person votes in a GOP primary or a GOP primary runoff, they are, by our rules, a Republican. So if you've got 2 people that qualify for this in a local election, they are both Republicans. Why don't we, I'm not asking for everybody to answer this question, just think about it yourself. Why don't we endorse as a party in primary elections? Why don't we do that? Because the party should not put its thumb on the scales when 2 Republicans are running against each other, period. We are not going to become a party or a group that has a purity test. Well, this guy's a Republican, but this guy's more of a Republican. This guy, whoa, he's really a Republican. This guy's barely a Republican. There's no scale like that. Our current rules, if you want to change them, pardon me? Oh, time? I'm time, okay. Vote no on this, and let's get back to at least having 2 people. Thank you.
I speak in favor.
Yes, Rolando. Go ahead.
I think, as Scott said, this is actually trying to accommodate some of Jim's concerns to require more active involvement. But I also want to speak to the question of what is a Republican. First of all, there are no primaries in this election. So there is no way for Republican voters to decide among themselves who is their one nominee, okay? So absent that, what do? Nothing? That's what we've been doing for decades, and look where it got our schools, okay? Or do we listen to the people on the ground, the activists and the precinct chairs on the ground, and say, you know what, if you call yourself a Republican, but you vote for gender indoctrination, we're going to support a conservative challenger, okay? Again, yes, it would be ideal if all of these races had primaries so Republican voters could get together and choose one nominee, but that's not. So this is the next best alternative. And as I said, we are seeing results and we need to keep at it. But the alternative is simply saying, oh, well, we can't decide who's a Republican, Pontius Pilate, we'll wash our hands. that is not an option anymore.
Dr. Morse?
Hi, Melinda Morris, SD 13 committee woman. I'm opposed to this amendment because I think it shows more involvement to object, and it's more impactful to object than to just passively approve. So I'm against the amendment to the amendment, and we ought to leave the First Amendment as it is.
Okay, we've got 2 and 2.
I'm for the amendment as it is. Right now, it is our children that are being attacked. They're the victims. There's a war on our children, and the school and all of the library books and the transgender movement that's pushing we've got to stand up. And right now, the best way to do that is to have the parents who know, to have the precinct chairs who know. They are the ones that are actually making the endorsements. So we made sure that it wasn't going to be from the top down. We made it from the bottom up by letting the voices and the decision on what Republicans should run be decided by their executive committee and by the moms and the precincts themselves. So I think we're good where we are. Thank you.
Okay. There being no further discussion, we are now voting on the amendment. You do not need clickers because it's an amendment. The proposed amendment would strike 2 and replace it with 1 and strike or as object. What is it? No, it's the. Is it just the purple? Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. Apologize. It strikes the 2 and adds 1. So it would read, unless it is objected to, what? Yeah. So it reads, unless it is objected to by 1/4 of the total SREC membership, but it also must be approved by 1 SREC member, should be member if it's changed, who represents a Senate district. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, got to call a division. All in favor, please stand of the amendment. And then please raise your hand if you also hold a proxy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah. Okay, thank you. The motion passes and the amendment's adopted. Now we are back on the main question and can
yeah, I might do a conversion.
Can you do make it tense correct? It's just driving me crazy.
I know, because I was layering too many things here.
I know. Okay, now we're on the main motion. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Hearing none. Now, this is a resolution, so use your click.
No, I'm not sure. No. We're still.
Oh, was that amendment to the amendment?
Yeah, that was amendment to the amendment.
I got you. Okay. I knew the green piece was part of it. Okay. So now we have the amendment to the amendment, which we just did. And now we're on the amendment, which is the green language, which would strike or is objected to, but it also must be approved by. Any
Mr.
discussion?
Chairman, just a point of information.
Yes.
That line where the green is on says membership, and then we're crossing out the word or.
Yes.
So it is no longer, there's no option there. It is just, it is, unless it is objected to by 1/4 of the SREC membership, but also it must be approved.
It's a positive requirement. It's turning the
So what is the
negative.
difference?
instead of requiring somebody to object, it would require somebody to approve it. So what it's saying is there's one SRE. So the requirement is when you're looking at the district, if the committee recommends and one SREC member approves of that recommendation, then they'll be recommended and we would be supporting them. The question is, yeah, correct, representing the area.
But it doesn't say that.
It started out that one person had to object. Instead, they wanted a positive, the amendment would create a positive requirement that the person objects.
So it's not an either or thing, it's both and, right?
Well,
There's
it
a
says
two-step.
unless it is objected to by 1/4 of the total SREC membership, period. I mean, it's basically, that's it.
All right.
But it also must be approved by one SREC member.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a negative and a positive in the sentence structure. So we're taking out a negative, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, David Wiley, SD 12. This is a Virgilism. I need Virgil on this, but the way it is currently written, would not any SREC member who represent a Senate district be able to object or approve anything that comes up? We probably need to go more with represents the Senate district that it's from.
That's what it says. Territory within the jurisdiction in which the candidate is running for election.
That contains territory. The next line would be helpful. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Jim Pickle, SD8, this is my motion. I think maybe we could clear up some of this.
Order, please.
I think maybe we might be able to clear up some of this, and Gebhardt suggested this to me. It seems like if we put the negative after the positive, in other words, in order to be approved by the SREC after the 5th calendar day, it must be approved by one SREC member unless it is objected to by 1/4 of the total SREC, right? So the positive comes first, and then if you get the positive and it's still objected to by 1/4, they still don't get it.
Okay.
So, I mean,
you're making a motion to
yes, motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
Yeah.
Can you do that, Virgil?
Ann would have done this, but her feet hurt, so she made me come up and do it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is obviously a friendly amendment, right?
Well, you're making your own amendment.
I know.
So are you friendly to your own amendment?
Somebody just told me I should tell you it's a friendly amendment. I think she believed you didn't know that.
Do you agree with the amendment you're making?
Can we have debate? 3 and 3. I'll just move from mic to mic. Yeah.
The motion to amend is a non-substantive one. It's to put the positive before the negative for better sentence structure. Is there any objection to the proposed amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted, and we're back on the main amendment, I guess, right?
Jim, can you just read that and make sure?
No, the motion or the green light?
We're down here. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, any other discussion? Go ahead.
All right. Scott Bowen, SC6. So there's a little bit more cleanup that has to happen here because right now the way it reads is it says an endorsement of any candidate shall be considered approved by the SREC after the 5th calendar day, must be approved by one SREC member unless it is objected to. So I think there's a little bit more that needs to, I think we need to just pause until we have the final language and we can see exactly what we're voting on, because the subsidiary clauses and things like that actually do kind of matter here.
Yep.
Okay, nobody talk for. That's fine. Okay. Provided that it is approved. So I'm at the beginning of green. An endorsement of any candidate shall be considered approved by the SRC on the calendar day when it is approved. After it is approved. When after? No, because it's not instant, so you can't say after. Yes. Provided that, are you okay with, provided that,
You say after fifth already, you can't get after.
hold on. If approved, provided that or if?
I would just put and is, instead of unless, just put and it is not objected to.
And it is not objected to.
Yeah, and it is not objected to. By at least 1/4.
Yeah.
By at least. An endorsement of any candidate should be considered approved by the SREC after the 5th calendar day, provided that it has not been approved by one S.
Like that?
That's perfect, yes. Jim, good?
I like that, yes.
Okay. Who's, this is Scott's motion? Yeah. Here. Okay.
This is Jim's phone.
No, Scott's moving to amend.
Can I get a cruise rule on this? Can I get a cruise motion on this?
What? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so,
Voting on the red.
order, please. That doesn't work when I do it on paper. That's better. Okay. This is a friendly amendment. An endorsement of any candidate shall be considered approved by the SREC after the 5th calendar day, provided that it has been approved by one SREC member who represents a Senate district that contains the territory within the jurisdiction which the candidate is running for election, and it is not objected to by 1/4 of the total SREC membership. Any discussion? We'll move to vote. Is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing none, the amendment's adopted. Now we're back on the main question, which is the actual change itself. Is there any discussion on the main motion? What?
Virgil taking notes for himself.
Okay. So now we're on the main motion. Hearing no further discussion on the main motion, we're going to vote. This is a record vote or no? Okay. Is all in favor of adopting the standing rule, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The standing rule is adopted. Yep. We are new business now.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there any new business to come
Yes.
before the committee?
I move to suspend the rules to allow for 2 resolutions to be considered, one on the topic of Colony Ridge and one on the topic of Mayor Eric Johnson.
There's a motion to suspend the rules to allow for number 1, a resolution regarding Mayor Eric Johnson, and number 2, Colony Ridge. There's a second by Rachel. Is there any objection to suspending the rules for these 2 resolutions? Okay, hearing none, the rules are suspended. Matt, will you please present the first resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Patrick, Senate District 16. I move adoption of a resolution, which I wrote very quickly last night, to welcome Mayor Johnson into the Republican Party, and importantly, to also encourage all other people who share our values and principles to also come home to the Republican Party. So move adoption.
Is there a second? A second by Ed. We are now on the motion. Do you want to speak to your motion? To your resolution?
Already done.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Are you?
I don't it's against officials, but I guess I have to say against. I'm just a little bit skeptical because of our definition that Mr. Pickle just mentioned. If you voted the last Republican, is this guy, anyone know any history on him? Or is this, I'm going to run as a Republican for statewide office? Is this a step up to higher office? And so I'm a Republican now. And it just, the news came out, what, yesterday? That's just my point of information. Is that correct? That's my point of information.
Is this the point of information?
Yes, a point of information. Am I correct?
The chair's not advised.
I'll speak to it if you allow, Mr.
Yeah, we still have people to speak.
Okay. So the history on Eric Johnson is several cycles ago when the mayoral race was open, we had a bunch of very far left candidates that were running. So the Republican donor class in Dallas looked for an alternative who had a little bit more moderate record, was very much more in line with public safety, backed the police, and understood economics and understood that businesses are the engine that drive everything else in government and give government the means to do what it should be doing. And unfortunately in Dallas, a lot more. But he is fundamentally a little bit more of a moderate Republican than I am. But I've talked to him before. He is a good guy. He's pretty thoughtful. He's not where I am on some issues, but he is good on business and he understands the economic restraints and natural constrictions on government. So that's why I'm willing to give him this vote of confidence.
Thank you. We'll now move to vote. Please vote with your keypad. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain.
That's a rouse. It's a you can say he's afraid.
Voting closes in 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed by a vote of 62-0. The resolution welcoming Eric Johnson to the Republican Party is passed. It's interesting, as more and more of the people I served with who I thought 6 years ago, they're not crazy and seem completely reasonable. Now all of them are Republicans. It's interesting, or have left the legislature, but we're happy to have Mayor Johnson in the only one of the top 10 cities that is currently represented by a Republican. So welcome. Scott?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the resolution regarding Colony Ridge.
It's been moved. No, we suspended for both. Next is the resolution regarding Colony Ridge. It's been moved to adopt the resolution. Is that the top of it? I just wanted to see. Okay. Resolution calling for action in Colony Ridge. Scroll down slowly because this was a new one.
Yeah, and it is emailed out too, so everyone should.
Okay, do you want to say something
Sure.
quickly and just summarize it?
I think a lot of us have become familiar with the situation over the last week or so, as it's gotten finally some media attention, but really it's been building for a while. There is a development in Liberty County, which is northeast of Harris County, which is estimated to span about 60 square miles, and the plots of land in this development are being sold significantly, if not primarily, to illegal immigrants. And there's known cartel activity in the area. There is rampant crime. You probably heard pretty recently about someone who shot 5 people from their lawn in the area. Law enforcement presence is minimal, which is why they congregate there. And there's growing investigation into why the local officials there are allowing this to go on. And so what this resolution asks for is for legislation to be added to the upcoming special session call or a subsequent special session to prevent further settlement of illegal aliens in Colony Ridge and other areas of Texas where this may be happening. We're recognizing the work of Congressman Brian Babin, my congressman, who represents Liberty County and has really done a good job of investigating this. And finally, we are asking for Attorney General Ken Paxton to investigate this situation and the ties that this development might have to elected officials in the region.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else? Not, discussion's closed. We'll vote with our keypads, 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. Jerry? Here we go. Fernando. Okay, voting will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. Let's get the totals. By a vote of 61 to 0, the motion passes. The resolution is adopted. Is there any other new business?
Mr. Chairman. Steve Evans, SD 28, to give Virgil time to get back to his computer. Every meeting we pass a motion to let Virgil do cleanup, so I move to amend the standing rules to add new standing rule 5. Do you not want to do this now, or?
I need to do cruise.
On what?
Let me pull the motion that we did a few meetings ago.
Pull the motion. Let's just quickly make it a standing rule.
Virgil thinks it is Virgil motion.
Well, what my motion is to add a standing rule that says the secretary may make non-substantive and grammatical corrections to the bylaws and standing rules. And that gives you permission to keep them clean.
Is there a second? A second by Britton. We'll now move to discussion. Hearing no discussion, we'll now vote with our keypads. Vote 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain.
What is it on the floor next to us and it's not ours? Nobody at our table. Like announced it, somebody during the morning thing.
Oh, okay. Where is it? At your table? Okay.
You're good, Chairman.
You got a bag over it. All right, voting's closed by a vote of 62 to 0. The motion passes. Really quick, somebody left a bag up by the front table. If you want to come grab it, I will leave it right here in the back wall. Who's it? No, I think it's probably a mug or something. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, that is fun. Okay, any other new business? Chris?
Mr. Chair, I had a quick announcement. For those of you.
Let's close new business, move on to announcements. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead.
We're good. We're on announcements now. I like to be official with this stuff, you know?
I just want to let everyone know, if you didn't make note of it, last Sunday was Constitution Day. It was celebrated across Texas in schools and so forth on Monday. And we did this in our area, Comal County, Blanco. We had about 2,500 students that we processed with about 23 or so presenters. Passed out pocket constitutions, spent the whole day doing that. Great success. It's our 4th year to do it. But this year, Governor Abbott actually penned some personalized certificates, which we were able to give to 5 principals, very well received, as well as sending Steve Ministeri down, who did a couple of presentations. So it's just a good thing that we're doing. I just want to let everybody know about that in case you have an interest in that next year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, guys. We are going to, when we can, we will go pick them up at your desk. Don't pass them to anybody. Leave them at your desk when you leave. The next meeting is in December 2nd. There being no further business to come before the body at this time, if there's no objection, meeting will be adjourned. Hearing none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate it.